be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw.
Oh, again, it would help if I took that down, huh? Just trying to keep you on your toes. George!
How's it going, Joe?
I am well. How are you?
I'm good. How was your week?
My week was excellent, thank you. How was your week?
You don't sound like you sound like you're trying to sell it. Like, can we take that again? Let's try that. How was your week, Joe?
It was all right.
That's better. That's more Joe. My week was awesome. I've been raw juicing, as people have seen on my Facebook. It's been wonderful. Becky hates it. But I'm trying to spread the health and the love and the.
So explain to me what you had on your grill tonight.
Grilled cauliflower.
Okay, so is that
Becky's been going on about at me about saying cauliflower, but I say cauliflower, but she's been saying it's cauliflower, and I say it's not McCullough Culkin, it's Macaulay. It's cauliflower. So I had cauliflower steaks, I guess is what you call them. You just cut.
Do they taste like steak?
They taste like amazing, delicious goodness is what they taste like.
So they don't taste like steak?
No.
Okay. So people are full of crap then.
No, you just cut them nice and thick, and they're really delicious. Little salt, little pepper, little garlic, little olive oil, throw them on the grill them up, get them nice and soft. Man, I'm telling you, it was delicious.
Okay. So if you had your choice between a New York strip and that.
Because that would depend on the day, right? Like, and how I feel generally, I mean, the thing is, like I eat a lot of red meat. And so I'm trying to kind of, find a healthy balance in there. I can't eat steak every day and burgers every day, right? God damn it,
you sound like my wife.
It's going to kill me, right? Like, what John Wayne, when he died, they found 5 pounds of undigested red meat in his intestines. That's not going to be me.
And my wife's got this whole thing. We need you to live longer. I'm like, but why?
Everybody needs you to live longer, Joe, because we love you so much.
Thank you. Well, we're getting the crowd here, man. So,
yes, we are. So welcome everybody to Romero Pictures Indie Brigade, brought to you by Romero Pictures and Heavy Metal Magazine. I am your host, George C. Romero, and with me, as always, is my ever faithful and present producer extraordinaire, Mr. Joe Ridgely, sporting the Romero Pictures LE. What is that? A Scully hat? What do you call that? Cap?
Beanie?
Beanie. That's it. Yeah, it's a beanie. Those are no longer available, actually, because we pulled all of the LE stuff. We got people showing up. Hello, everyone. Let's see who's here in the comments before we get to some housekeeping, as we do every week. Lance Wagner, let's go. Lance, you cut out the pineapple whips out of your life and you get cranky. Is that it? Is that how?
He cheated, man. He got one today.
You son of a bitch.
Right?
Sean Smithson, what's up, brother? Going to see you on here in a couple of minutes. You've got some pretty cool shit to go over and show everybody. People have seen what you've been teasing all over social media, so we're excited to have you here tonight. I've got a cool little announcement about next Friday that I'm going to drop here in a few minutes as well. Scott Meany, how's it going? Very, very talented artist. Ron, how's it going, buddy? I was thrilled to see your post about finding your joy. And I agree with you. You don't have to make horror, and the horror community will not turn its back on horror filmmakers who decide to, stretch their muscles and do something else. Lance, be a mother effing outlaw. I just want to hear Lance say the actual fuck word sometime.
Good luck.
Brandon, what's up? Libby, how are you? I love all of the pictures of all your mushrooms and everything, and Becky took some pictures of some pretty poisonous mushrooms, but man, are they beautiful, aren't they? Sam, how's it going? Tim, what up? Had a great meeting with Tim yesterday. Very good guy there. He's working on some very cool, exciting stuff. Very excited to see those things start to come to fruition. I am a motorcycle guy, and I can drive a car there, Ron.
Yeah, me too.
Let's see. Dino, brother, what's going on, man? Nothing but love to you. Elena, Good to see you, Bob.
Man, there's a lot of people here tonight.
Yeah, Bob, I'm not sure if you're new to the Brigade. I don't recognize your name. If you are new, welcome. If you're not new, thanks for chiming in and speaking up. Brandy, you are a light out there in the world. It is a pleasure to have you here. Tim, I already said hello to Tim.
Well, okay. I'm just bringing them up as they come along.
Tim, how many times do you want me to say hi? Jesus, Tim.
Matt is saying vegan steak.
Matt, what's up, brother?
Here's that stalker again.
That's my beautiful wife, Rebecca Romero, right there. She's been hating the dirt juice, #dirt juice, but man, it's really good, and it's actually really good. So she'll eventually get used to it, or she'll kick me out. Either way.
Fair enough. Lauren, man, everything just went friggin' way fast.
Lauren, what's up, brother? Terry, our very own drone Jesus, Terry Gerald. Huzzah.
Yeah, where the hell was he? Holy crap. They're moving way too fast.
Man.
Yeah, and a tie.
Itai, you missed the most important part, the very beginning. You missed the first 18 seconds. You son of a bitch.
Marsha, good to see you, Marsha.
What's up, Marsha? We all do love Joe, but you know what? We also blame Joe. I know I haven't brought this out in a minute, but we're going to bring it back. We're just going to blame Joe for everything. Fuck you, Joe.
Shh, don't say that in front of Marsha.
Marsha, you need to get on the blame Joe train. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good campaign. It's actually a larger message than the entire Indie Brigade message, brand message, and everything. We just blame Joe for everything that goes wrong anywhere and always. Mushrooms used to be dangerous. Tim, glad to fucking see you guys tonight. Glad to fucking see you too, brother. Morgan, how's it going? Say fuck, Lance. Man, I love our community, don't you, Joe?
I absolutely do. And since we are live, and I know David can hear me, your guest popped up for a second and then bailed out.
Oh, okay. Blame Joe rules. Hi, David Madison. David is saying hi to you from the green room. That is actually, our green room is ridiculous. It's full of booze. He's probably back there just pounding shots. So he says hello from the green room. Joe always has everybody's back, but we still blame him, Marsha. So you know what I love about our community? I love that our community, most of the time our community comes in here and they have more to say to each other. Oh, I just saw Lance say hi to Frank. Does that mean Frank Farrell is here? If you are,
I'm thinking so.
It is a pleasure to see you again, my friend. A fine gentleman, Mr. Frank Farrell. We blame you for Fun Fridays, Joe. Wow, look at this. This is great. What a great turnout. Our community. What's up, Fishman? Our community is great, man. They, they look out for each other. They help each other. They support each other. There he is. There's Frank. Everybody is trying so hard, and we're all on the grind out there, which is different than being on the hustle, right? I mean, there's two things. You can grind or you can, Greco, you can grind or you can hustle. And you know what? I would rather grind than hustle every day of the week because it's more honest. You can close your eyes at the end of the day. By the way, Richard Greco is the gentleman responsible for the cauliflower steaks. He has been talking to me about them for a very long time and has convinced me that they're amazing. And tonight we tried them, and boy, he was right. They are amazing. So if you're not on the cauliflower steak train, jump on. So
we need to come up with a blame Greco hashtag. Okay.
No, it's still your fault, Joe. But seriously, our community, we've got our community that they don't call each other fans. They don't call each other viewers. They don't call each other an audience. Y'all call each other members of the Brigade, right? You don't call our show a podcast. You call it the Brigade, and you guys are members of the Brigade. And that's, how much good that does my heart that has happened. We are the Indie Brigade. It is fucking a thing. And every week it becomes a bigger, more powerful, stronger thing. And that's because of you guys. And that's because you guys hear the message that we try to put out. You guys believe in the message that we try to put out, and you guys love what we do. and we love you for it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody. You know, when we started this, we didn't know what was going to happen. Not eating all that red meat is good for your heart too. That's exactly right, Joe.
Okay. April Love. Hi, April. If you guys see the picture above the Corona sign, original artwork by April Love.
Hey, look at that.
So very cool. Thank you for joining us, April.
Yeah. So here we are, and we've got this community, and we've got this thing, and you know, and Joe and I were talking about this earlier today, and I came up with a new term, and we're going to go ahead and throw it out here tonight. Because Joe said to me, "Are we even still a podcast?" And I said, "I don't think we are, because we run 3 hours start to finish. That's actually turned out to be a good thing for the YouTube algorithm, which we didn't realize when we started that, but it turned out to be a really good side effect. Running as long as we do, the YouTube algorithm actually ends up recommending us to other people who are just kind of surfing YouTube. So we found some new members of the Brigade that way." And but you know, most podcasts run, what'd you say, 45 minutes to an hour or something like that?
Correct.
So I guess the question at hand is, are we a podcast? Are we even still a podcast? And the answer that we came up with is no. And you know, master classes are a big thing now. Everybody's running master classes and buying master classes and attending master classes. And you know, we get some very serious masters of the craft on this show. We get some really great professionals on both shows. We get people who've been doing this a long time and offer a lot of great insight, and we don't charge for that. So the term we came up with is we're now the Indie Brigade Master Cast, right? It's a master cast. So I think it's pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool term. What do you guys think? Do you guys like it? Do you hate it? Go up there in the comments.
So like, how does that work? Are we the master cast and then we have shows?
Yeah, well, these are all the other shows. So this is everything that's on the network. You know, I mean, so we're the Indie Brigade Network. We're the Romero Pictures Heavy Metal Indie Brigade. This is the Indie Brigade show proper for those who are new. And then the Indie Brigade is also a network that plays host to all of these shows that you're seeing on the screen right now. You guys saw Richard Grieco in the comments. We've got a brand new show with Richard Grieco called What Was I Thinking? Fragments from a Dirty Ashtray coming with Richard Grieco. That's coming soon. He and I have been talking a lot about that lately, and that's going to be a very cool show that you guys aren't going to want to miss. We've got Living the Scream with Tiffany Shepis coming up, another new show coming to the network very soon. In terms of stuff that's already in existence and that you can find all over our YouTube channel. We've got our show, the Indie Brigade, coming up directly after hours at 11 p.m. on Friday nights. We've got The End of the Night with David Lee Madison. That's a wonderful show. He gets great guests on there tonight. He's got Keith Coogan, and he's got a phenomenal guest whose name I'm not going to try to pronounce, even though we just talked about it backstage.
Yeah, sorry, I should have pulled that up real fast.
But his name is Alan, and he is the CEO of Filmhub. So if you're an indie filmmaker and you want to put your stuff out through Filmhub, you don't want to miss The End of the Night tonight. It's going to be a great conversation that David is going to have with Alan. We've got the Wagner Wiles coming up Sunday night, hosted by Lance and Samantha Wagner.
Wait for it. Sunday night.
There it is. That's a wonderful show. If you guys haven't tuned in for that yet, make sure you tune in this Sunday. You guys will also notice a little new look to our show cards and our lobby cards. Yep. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. Moving on beyond that, we've got the Nasty Nation with Chuck Nasty that has up till now only been an audio podcast. However, we are working diligently to transition that over to a video podcast. It will not be live to start with, but it will be a video podcast that we will be making available on the Indie Brigade Network. Bouncing across past the Blame Joe, which we've already covered, we've got the Drone Cav with Terry Gerald, who is the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade resident drone Jesus. This guy has forgotten more about drones, drone technology, and how to use drones to increase the production value of your low to no budget films than most of us will ever learn, and he gives this shit away for free in the Drone Cav. So if you want to learn everything you need to know about drones, check out the Drone Cav on our network on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/indie_brigade. And then just below Tiffany and to the left of the Drone Cav, we've got The Devil is Into Detail, which is a written blog by our very own Mr. Ian Steyer, who is the gentleman responsible for all of the logos that you see in front of you, except for the heavy metal logo. Ian and I worked very hard together to rebrand to rebrand Romero Pictures and to rebrand the Indie Brigade at the top of this year. And I think we announced that and revealed all of that, I think, on January 2nd or 3rd. So Ian is a phenomenally talented guy, and he's got a written blog that's all about the creative process, creativity as sort of an abstract, and you really should read it. It'll speak, if you're a creative, if you're an artist, it'll speak to you. So check that out. And we've got some more shows coming that we will be announcing very soon. And then beyond all of that, just last little bits of housekeeping. A couple of things. We've got some merch available. Hey, what's up, Noelle? I know. Hey, I just said your name right.
That's why I had to bring it up.
Yeah. We've got merch available at romeropictures.com/merch. We've got some really great stuff there, from coffee mugs to t-shirts. We tried to keep it limited. We've got cool hats. We didn't want to overdo it. And then beyond that, we've got a phenomenal line of merch called Scare Tactical. All of our merch logos and all of that stuff is designed by our own Ian Steyer. And every sale of anything in the Scare Tactical line, Outlaw Loadouts for the indie artist, portion of all of those sales go directly into a fund to help us with the Veterans Compound, which we are getting closer and closer every week to getting that letter from the IRS that designates the Veterans Compound as an official 501c3. And when that happens, you will start to see a lot of stuff. We're going to start blowing it up all over the internet. The Veterans Compound is a project I've been working on for a very long time. So stay tuned for that. If you don't like anything in the merch store, or if quarantine's got you down and you just can't buy some merch right now for whatever reason, we understand. Make sure you go to buymeacoffee.com/RP Indie Brigade and, well, buy me a coffee, because, you know, we have a great sponsor this season. We've got Killer's Choice Coffee right here. Mr. Dan Yeager and our very own CW Penny started up a coffee label called Killer's Choice Coffee. It is delicious. But, you know, I'm starting to drink them out of all of their inventory. So if you guys could go to buymeacoffee.com/RP Indie Brigade and buy me a coffee, that would be great. That we could really use more coffee. I could really use more coffee.
Now, see, I think you need to lay off on the coffee and do more juicing.
I do both.
You got to find the balance, though.
What's up, Scott? Random Waldron. Love you too, brother. Man, it's good to see you. It has been far, far too long. Random. This dude, man. I got this guy when he was young, very young, out and worked with him, and he became a friend. He saved my life a couple times. He's a very good guy. So I think that's it for all the house. Am I missing any housekeeping?
Yeah, you really are. So everybody who is who is new, joining us, please like, follow, subscribe, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. We greatly appreciate it. Again, hit the like, subscribe button. Only takes but a second. And I think that's it.
Oh, so I really wasn't missing that much. You mean I just left a piece for you to do. See how nice I am?
That's why I love you, man.
That's why?
It's one of the reasons. All right. So what I'm going to do now is, because we are actually running a little behind, I am going to pull up Sean. I'll let you introduce Sean.
Sean Smithson. Look at this. Look at that. He's got like the intense fucking focus. He said, I'm right here. I'm fucking focused. I'm down. It's happening. What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
It's good to see you, man. It's good to see you. And I love that you're doing this from your shop. For those of you who don't know Sean Smithson, he's a huge part of the Brigade community. One of our favorite members, phenomenally talented woodworker. His company is Smithson Custom Creations. Very, very talented woodworker, very dear friend of mine. Also responsible for organizing the Indie Brigade regiment on Xbox Live Call of Duty. So we will be announcing that pretty soon. Sean, welcome to the show, brother.
Yeah, nice shirt. He has one of the last limited edition.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
And, you know, Sean, I think everybody kind of knows a little bit about what you're doing on here tonight because you've been teasing it for a while on socials. And I got to tell you, your skills with that laser thing are amazing. You're like a fucking Jedi with that thing. So,
No, thank you. I appreciate that. And I'm actually getting the company is sending me out 2 more lasers that are on the market.
That's
they're better for pictures. So
you're gonna have to start asking people to send us shit. Nobody sends us anything when we have.
Well, George, did you see that after doing all these, he actually got sponsored?
That's what I mean.
Yeah, what I mean. And they're sending him all this cool crap. I'm sorry, I'm like paying attention to those over there, but yeah, he got sponsored after doing all this. That's incredible.
We just said all that.
I was reading the comments.
Sean, tell everybody who you are, what you do, tell them where they can find you and your amazing woodworking, and give us a little taste of what you're about to pull that curtain off of behind you.
All right. Obviously, Sean Smithson with Smithson Creations Handcrafted Woodworking. Can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I don't do Twitter. Just never got into that. But you can find me there. Hopefully have a web page up soon. And and I just do a lot of woodworking, got into doing laser burns and fell in love with it and doing some awesome stuff with it. And so I'm gotten a lot of people interested in wanting to purchase products. So I've been excited about that.
Well, that's awesome, and I'm really proud that the Indie Brigade has become a good sounding board for you. And you know, one of the cool things is that a lot of people don't know is that since you found the Indie Brigade, you actually started writing your first horror film.
Yes. Yep. Devil in the box.
We have ruined it for everybody watching. We have ruined another human. We have pulled him into the dark world of creating horror movies, and we have absolutely ruined him. So welcome to hell.
Appreciate it. Nice and warm.
There's Greco says, "Hey Sean, you rock, brother."
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're all excited. Everybody knows kind of what you're here to reveal a little bit, but they don't know the details of it. So why don't you tell everybody kind of like how you got started? Before you just reveal it, tell everybody like kind of what got you into this idea, what the idea is, and how you kind of got started doing this, because we're all excited to see it.
Hey, well, obviously with the woodworking I was doing before, I was everything was just the same build and everything. So I was kind of getting a little bit bored with it. And then I saw somebody do laser burns. And I was looking at lasers and saw how expensive they were, and then saw this company that sells them for about $200. So I was like, I'll give it a try. And ordered one. Tried it out. My first piece I did turned out okay. Did a second one, turned out even better. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. I was like, I can do a lot with this, and even do customization for stuff that I've done that I normally do, like boxes or cutting boards. So now I can customize work and make it more special than just gluing wood and cutting it and sanding it and finishing it. Now I can do something special for people.
That's really cool, dude. And then one sec, Chuck said he's only popping in for a second. I want to say what's up to Chuck Daniels, brother. He is half of Bastard Sons of a Judas Goat, who actually does the music that you hear in the opening of our episode. Love you, brother.
Yeah,
Thanks for stopping. So do you find that you get more satisfaction out of kind of the woodworking that you do, being able to kind of like customize it and make it a little bit more special for people? Does it make you feel better about the stuff you do, or did it
absolutely
reinvigorate you a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. It means more. And so it's like, you know that you're doing something for somebody that they're going to appreciate for a long time.
Well, this project that you're doing is kind of a special project. And we've all seen little pieces of it. what got you started on this project? Why did you want to start this project?
Everybody I've talked to, either on Messenger or on phone, has been amazing. Everybody's been like family. And so I figured it'd be kind of like an appreciation for everybody, and let them know I view you as family, and figured it'd be like a photograph of the family of everybody that's been there for me and helped out.
That's super cool. So you started using your laser to burn people's logos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And how was that easy? I mean, was it hard, or
at first it was difficult. I think I went through half a sheet of Baltic birch plywood before I got it down. And that's not cheap.
Yeah, for people who don't know, Baltic birch plywood, depending on the number of plies and all of that stuff, it's kind of the go-to plywood for fine woodworkers to use. And it's really good stuff, but it is really, it's like over $100 a sheet. It's crazy expensive. So, wow. So, but then you got it all dialed in, and then it started working, and now you're here to kind of reveal your piece to everybody.
Yep.
Awesome.
Yep. And plenty of room on it to add.
Well, take it away, man, and talk about why you laid it out the way you laid it out and all that stuff, and take it away. And I'm going to have Joe pop it full screen so that we can see it better.
Okay.
Wow, look at that. How cool is that?
Hopefully you can all see everything.
Upper center. Can you see that, George?
Yeah, I see it. That's the rise thing, man. That looks awesome. What's your camera on right now? Is it a laptop? Can you move it closer?
I can take it off.
Let us get a close look at that, man.
Just tell me.
Look at this shit. Everybody watching right now, Sean Smithson right here has become such an embedded piece of our community, a part of our community. Look at the shit he's done. Look what he's done here.
And then,
like, what other community around a podcast or around what other online community has people like this? Look how fucking cool that is.
Yeah.
Like, that's fucking amazing. The rise looks badass, dude.
Yeah.
And right up there, you got Greco and you got heavy metal and the end of the night. Wow, dude, that's fucking amazing.
Yep. So I placed it so that everybody that has a let me put this here so you guys can see me. So you guys could all see me. There's everybody who is in the does podcasts and stuff, and obviously had to do a tribute to you. And I figured the rise as well was a kind of a, I guess, a nod to you that we're all going to rise up.
Oh man,
as well. So
all fucking emotional and shit.
and everybody else here, I've spoken to every single one of them through Messenger, and great people. So yeah, and want to thank is it Itai? Is that how you pronounce it?
Itai.
I say Itai. He's never corrected me, so.
Okay.
He's there right now saying, "Love it, nice work, Sean."
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to thank him too for helping promote it too, and thank everybody here who's been in my life in some way and been positive. Everybody, so it's been great.
Yeah, him and Peter have been doing that, and they are awesome over at My Indie Productions.
Yeah.
Yeah, we love those guys. I've known Itai for a long time, and I'm so grateful for the love that he gives us in the Brigade. And Lance says he's not crying.
Survey says
it really is. It's unbelievable. And William asked if it's a work in progress. Obviously there's a deliberate reason why there is negative space in between a lot of them.
Yeah.
And I think I think Sean, as the Brigade grows, obviously the network grows, and obviously more people come into your life, and I think that's probably why you left it like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Like I just added Circus of the Bed today.
You got what?
The Circus of the Dead. I added that one today.
That is awesome. Listen, you got to take some really good pictures of that so that we can post them up. I mean,
and just so Sean knows, Michael Mandaville, he's chatting in the background right now. I can't pull anything up that he's saying, but he's saying amazing artistry. And he's absolutely correct. It's awesome.
So,
I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Good stuff, Sean. We love you, brother. I'm so fucking happy to have you here, man.
Yeah, me too. Glad I found you guys.
Yeah.
We're glad you did too.
Yeah. Who knew we would have hit it off like we did over woodworking, like almost a year ago.
Yep.
You know? So my life is better with you in it, Sean. So thank you.
I appreciate the same here.
And Michael Mandaville is saying he could do logos of film companies and probably do a pretty
love to.
Yeah, absolutely. We're gonna have Michael up here in just a couple of minutes, but make sure you get us some awesome pictures of that so that we can, send them to me and I'll throw them in Photoshop and then we'll get them up and push them around and stuff.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you, Sean.
Okay, and I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. We appreciate you, brother.
We will catch you later. Thanks again, man.
Okay. All right, you guys take care.
You too. That was spectacular.
I'm with Lance. I'm not crying.
Right?
Like I'm kind of all emotional.
He was saying it'd be a great jigsaw puzzle.
Right?
Ty, thank you, Sean. Truly amazing. And it hits you in the feels, man.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. The feels are strong tonight. I mean, fuck. But you know what, dude? This is what I'm talking about this community. Like our community is unlike any fan community because it's not. We are the fucking indie brigade. Yeah, Ron, it is brilliant. I combined your comment and your name. It is brilliant, and he's a fucking talented guy. And he did that shit. Like, that just shows to go you right there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we are the fucking indie brigade. There is nothing else like us out there. And, wave that flag fucking proud and strong because we created this together. All of us created this together. And I thank everybody who's here tonight. And I thank everybody who hasn't found us yet and who will learn what this community is exactly like. So,
and that's exactly it. It is a community.
Yeah, Sean Smithson is a fucking beast. We love you, brother. I'm honored to be on that board with this community. We're honored to have you up there too, Sam.
Well, you know what? Mandaville's blaming me for him getting kicked out in the lobby. So it's a beautiful thing to get blamed by Michael Mandaville for something. That's an honor. But we are running a little behind. I want to pull up Steve if I can.
Let's introduce Steve to the community. Steve Gray, how you doing?
Hey, you guys. How's it going?
Good, man. Good. Steve Gray, meet the Indie Brigade. Welcome to it, brother.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
How's it going?
So for everybody tuning in and everybody who's going to watch this on the rebroadcast, Steve Gray is an amazing tattoo artist, amazing artist in general, amazing designer. And he is the gentleman now doing all of our show cards. So there you go, for the Wagner Wiles, for our show. And as we move forward, he's going to be doing all of our promo graphics for our shows. And helping me stay just a little bit more sane in the process. So I want to thank you for that, Steve. Great help with this week's graphics, brother.
So Steve, you got a second to tell us a little bit about your background? And I do apologize. We are running a little behind, so I may be rushing you a tad. It's not intentional.
Yeah, no problem, man. You're just a graphic artist, tattoo artist, musician, bassist, guitar player, got recorded music, stuff on Napster, Spotify, Amazon Music. Just rocking out some graphics,
Awesome, man. Where can people go to find you?
Well, let's see. You can go to darkart.com, Steve Gray.
Awesome.
Or you can just
Sorry, I
add me on
left you in the spotlight there. We got so many members that are saying nice to meet you and welcome aboard. So I was trying to pay attention to everything all at once.
Right on. Yeah.
And this is the community we have, man. Everybody is excited and glad to have you. So
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
There's my beautiful wife saying welcome. Everybody's literally so nice to meet you and happy
Very
you're
cool.
here.
Very cool.
Yeah. So
Nice to meet you guys too.
well, welcome to it, Steve. Make sure you interact with the community. Make sure you comment and interact with these folks. And I've never seen a more supportive community anywhere.
Right on.
So welcome to the family, brother.
yeah,
Thank
there's
you.
Rico
Appreciate
saying,
that.
"Hey, Steve." All right, Steve, I do apologize, but I'm sure we'll be speaking again online and live sometime. So this won't be the first or last. I'm sorry, this is the first. It won't be the last, but we will catch you later, man. And again,
Okay,
we thank
man.
you.
See you, brother.
You too.
See you.
All right. Sorry. I'm like getting the jitters tonight, man. I don't know. I think it's the whole Sean thing. It like really did.
Too much killer's choice, probably.
Maybe.
You got Michael down there?
I do. I'm going to bring Michael up right now before he blames me for something else.
Sorry about Joe, Michael. Oh,
Uh-oh.
no audio.
No audio, Michael. He's going to blame me for that too. Let me see if I remove him and add him again. Michael, we can't hear you.
We can see you. Can't hear you. Nope. Nothing.
It may have happened when you got kicked.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now you can blame me.
Yeah. Now tilt your camera back down.
No, I'm just messing with you now.
I'm awful sorry about Joe, Michael. I mean, Jesus.
Well, it's okay. It's those texts at 2 a.m. where you go, I'm just really sorry about him, Michael, that I, kind of throw me off a little, when you're texting at odd hours, apologizing for him.
Yeah. But I appreciate the early morning phone calls to just kick off my day and tell me, don't let Joe bother you today. Everything's fine.
I think you need to get robocalls for that, So you could just, when you really spin it up there, you could just, and then you could get a nice long Joe sigh in the background. Oh.
Hey, robocalls for the Blame Joe campaign are a phenomenal idea. We could spread the word faster.
I think so. I think there's actually good merit in that, and shirts and the whole bit, right? And who knows? But, Joe, you might actually get some celebrity status there where people in the future are offering you free trips somewhere because they could blame you,
Oh, wait a minute. You're saying I don't already have that? George assured me that I had that slip. Oh, damn it.
People could, imagine, Joe, we could do a whole thing. If somebody opens a restaurant, they could just bring you for opening night, and if anything goes wrong, just blame you.
Wrong
so
order, blame Joe.
Kid related to Beaver.
People will refuse to get on airplanes with you soon.
That's possibly true.
Have a great evening, guys.
Well, there's also that part where they go, no, Joe's not on our team. He's on your team. For sure. It's like one of those sad things, but.
Michael, how have you been this week, brother?
Doing pretty good. Just getting a lot done, finishing up a script that I was hard to write. So I was getting that out. My project is at the Cannes Film Festival catalog. I told you about that.
Yep.
And for the Indie Brigade troops out there, I want to be able to say, look, I've done these, budgets. Films with significant budgets, and I did this for a couple $3,000 plus the SAG deferral. Shot it at my house and went through the entire post process, which you just really want to hang yourself with at times, but if you persevere, and I got it to a company that's putting it in the Cannes Film Festival catalog. So that's a piece of encouragement to the people out there going, well, is it going to get anywhere? And nowadays, I think there's a great, as you and I discussed earlier this week, a dearth of content is really going to lead the way.
Yes.
Absolutely. So I think there's opportunity for that. People will be receptive that weren't before. That also has a unique voice where somebody goes, I can't quite describe that. It was so interesting the way they did that. And I always remember, God, when I was working as a director of development with a film company, there was a guy that came in, Chuck Bale, and he was one of those old stunt guys. He'd work on like 6 Universal stunt shows in a day.
Sure.
Riding a horse here, falling here, taking a punch here, breaking a finger there, then doing the next 3 shows. And he told me that somebody at, I think it was Warner Brothers, they go, "Why are you hiring this guy? I mean, he's just not a good director." And their answer was, "Because we know he can only be so bad. There's a limit to the terrible, the poor abilities of this director."
Made me snort.
Yeah. You go, wait, so you are hedging your bets so badly, you're not taking a risk with somebody else, because you know this guy can only be just so mediocre. And that's the mentality that the Indie Brigade, I know, is cultivating of voices to get out there, and you get something that's unique. I'd rather watch something unique than something that is indeed just manufactured in its glossiness.
So would I, every day, all day long. And that's exactly what the Indie Brigade is about. And I want to back up to one of the first things you said. But first of all, you've gotten a couple of compliments on your shirt there.
Oh.
And I absolutely love your shirt too. And I've been to some of those facilities out there, and their facilities are crazy.
Oh, they are amazing, aren't they? Thank you, Joe. Mr. Joe McParlin there. You go to those labs, and when you first walk into, I remember going into the first photochemical lab. Far different than a digital lab, of course, and it was just amazing, the technology that they had then. I know it's ancient by now, but at the same time, the photochemical process was the envy of the filmmaking world, especially in the U.S. I mean, they had that stuff down pat, what they could do.
Yeah, and I went to a facility that was not a deluxe facility. It was another company that we won't name, but for reasons. But the facility was not a on the grid facility, and it was like one of these secret guarded, like it was like a secret facility, and there was like crazy shit going on, and they made me on the phone, and like I wasn't allowed to. I felt like I was going through some CIA checkpoint to get in there, and
it was like the Matrix, huh?
it was
the film Matrix.
The competition in that aspect of the industry, especially back when it was in the photochemical side of things, the competition was so crazy that there were these literal, like, super secret, top secret facilities, like underground bunkers almost, where they would try to figure out how to compete and how to fight in that world. And it was nuts.
Yeah, especially in the indie world, where they wanted they had the studio business. You had those locked in, so if you had a major or mini major, you would become their lab. Yeah. So consequently, what you would do is have to fight for indie films. That's really where, because those, if it was a New Line Cinema or a Spelling, they would make their TVMOWs or whoever. Mm-hmm. The indie world was where you could make a little more, because those people did not have the weight of negotiating power. It was a one-off film for the most part.
That's right.
So labs could make a little bit more, per foot. How much for the IP, the IN, the everything else, the work print, et cetera, and that became a bit of a secretive bit of skullduggery in the film business.
Nowadays, if you try to shoot on film, they send out the damn CEO of the film company. They're like, "Hey, thank you for shooting on film. Here, I've brought you a moving truck full of film."
It's pretty astounding. It's pretty astounding, isn't it? We actually shot Taken 3 on film.
Yeah.
And we actually ran into first assistant cameraman and seconds that go, I've never done that before.
Yeah.
They have never shot on film. And I was astounded by that, but it's understandable, but it's one of those moments where you kind of shake your head and go, really? And to find a loader.
Uh-huh.
an actual film loader.
I remember having to learn how to change mags in the bag.
Change bags in the bag.
Yeah, man, it was hard as hell to learn, but once you figured it out, it was you didn't realize it was going to become a perishable skill.
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, and you do it in the bag, or, you know, and if you have the camera truck, well, great. You got the dark room there, so you're good to go there. You could really hammer through all those mags.
Mm-hmm.
I remember on American History X, on the very first day of shooting, the director was quite Tony Kaye. Very interesting cat, to say the least. But he shot 113 setups on the first day and 26,740 feet of film. Wonder how I remember that, huh? And so people would look at the camera reports and go, so this is 13 setups, right? And you go, no, that's a 113. That's 113. It's not a error. And they were astounded. And I mean, it took camera 4.5 hours to download all the mags.
Yeah.
Because then you not only have to download it and can it and label it correctly, send into the lab, you know, you have to reconcile all the camera reports. But I really never saw camera so hustling so much to run mags back and forth to the set.
Mm-hmm.
It was astounding.
Listen, for everybody watching who doesn't know, downloading from film cameras is not the same thing as downloading your footage today onto a hard drive.
No,
it was a process.
No.
And then there was always the one poor PA whose job it was that somebody would finally come to them and say, here's all the cans, get them over to so-and-so somewhere. And if you wreck or lose them, we're going to murder you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And there's legendary stories of people falling asleep in the cab, leaving the can there. And, you know, and I mean, we actually had to send a truck.
Yeah.
We had so many cans of film that we had to send a truck.
I can't imagine 113 setups on 35 millimeter.
It was rather astounding. And literally, I would sit, and there was a guy who was, I think he was the loader or the second AC, and he would be working the film inventory. His name was Warren. I recall that. And he and I would literally go, okay, so what's our inventory and what should we order for tomorrow and the next day? And we go, well, we'll order, you know, I'm trying to remember the film stocks that they were, you know, back then. But we'd say, oh, we're going to order 30,000 feet of this and 20,000 of this and 20 of this, whatever. And Tony Kaye was very unique in so far as he would shoot, well, you'd have an interior stock, okay, and then you'd have an exterior stock, a daylight stock, right?
Sure.
So we would have different film stocks depending on interior, exterior, etc., which sounds kind of odd nowadays, it seems, I guess. But he would actually shoot an interior film stock in an exterior scene.
Yeah.
So Warren and I, because it would push and pull the emulsion differently, and Warren and I would be sitting there going, yeah, okay, we'll get that. And then Tony would order up the morning of, oh, I need this.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, what? What are you doing? We're exterior. Why are you wanting that? Oh man, we only have 10,000 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go get more. And I remember Transpo showing up going, you know, we've gone to Kodak 3 times today.
Nope.
Is there any chance we might get like one big order versus 3 small ones? And I would just say, absolutely. You just talked to the director about that.
Well, and you know, it's funny because back then that was, you know, that was a big deal. That was a way for a director to put an artistic signature on something, and you know, was different film stocks and different for different uses, and there were some folks who did that kind of thing back then, and then it started with when everything started going HD. Michael Mann shot Collateral, I think, and he shot
Yes.
I think he shot HD video at night and filmed during the day, or vice versa. And that's when it kind of started shifting toward, people getting away from using film. And, I think my version of, first of all, the most setups I ever did on film, I think in a day was almost 40, but that was still impressive. But 113, I can't even imagine. But
it was, and it wasn't even in a big scene. It was the exterior, if people remember the movie at all, but it's the exterior of their apartment and the interior of their apartment, which must have been, living room, kitchen, I don't know, 30 by 50 feet, 30 by 40 feet, something like that, tops. And then the dog grooming van in the back, where one of the characters, before and after, you see him getting his hair cut off in the dog grooming van.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, it was all within 100 feet.
Yeah.
It wasn't a lot of moving around, not a lot of action scenes, but it was rather astounding. We actually popped champagne, because you would have before you could, you can't have alcohol on sets, but back then you would actually have champagne for the camera crew, and when you hit 100,000, you'd open up a bottle.
Yeah,
we hit that in like either the fourth or fifth day.
By then, I think they probably would have needed that champagne.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They were a little perturbed at how much they were, shooting, and it was unlike anything I think they'd quite experienced. Quite a whirlwind.
So let's digress a little bit and go back to one of the first things you said, which was that you shot this film that's now in the Cannes catalog. And I'm totally shifting gears on you. I'm sorry, but
go. We do this all day long, you and I. It's like we talk about Martians and martinis in like another 14 minutes. I'm sure we'll be, you and I. Joe's like, wait, what? What just happened?
Wasn't this COVID part 2?
Yeah, we're getting to it.
There we go. I'm glad Joe's keeping us on track.
So one of the first things you said was that the film you just shot that's now in the Cannes catalog, you shot for a couple $3,000, and not including SAG deferrals.
Correct.
So let's kick off by first of all, for anybody who doesn't know, what do you mean by that? So let's say you spend $3,000, not including SAG deferrals. What are SAG deferrals? Because this is a huge thing for indie filmmakers and folks in the Brigade. And it's a huge barrier for a lot of young filmmakers.
It's a massive barrier. Yeah. Well, essentially, at the time, 2018, I shot this film. Everybody was going away on Christmas vacation. I said, the hell with it. I'm going to shoot a film. You're going to go away for 2 weeks skiing. I'm going to shoot a film. They're like, what? So at that given moment in time, the Screen Actors Guild offered a new media contract where you could defer paying the actors. They get $100 a day deferred. You sign what are called Exhibit Gs, which is like a timesheet. And essentially they sign in, they sign out. It's $100 for 8 hours. So if they're at 10 hours, there's some overtime based on those Exhibit Gs that people would be able to do the math, say, here's what you're owed. I also used it for my web series, Beer Pong Coach, which I shot here at Studio Mandaville, again, because you write the location in that you can control, like the number one thing you could probably do on a script if you're going to be the gorilla is I own it. Therefore, if I screw up the shot or need another one or need an insert, you can go back and add these flourishes or clarities to your project by saying, I own that location. Now, hopefully, if you don't go to, somebody's garage or bar or house or this or that, ask a question. Do you intend to remodel or paint this in the next 6 months? And I'm not kidding on that, because I had somebody actually go to a coffee shop, and then they went back and I go, yeah, I want to get some more shots there. And they'd remodel it. I mean, that was it, it would have, so that was over. Mm-hmm. But under those two agreements, I was able to defer that $100 a day through the generosity and spirit of the actors. They want some work, which I think is a further responsibility you bear to deliver that work for them because they are willing to defer. So you have to persevere, not just for the film itself, but as a matter of, I think, moral obligation, you have to do that. So
Right.
that's now, I went on the SAG website about 3-4 weeks ago, and I was looking for the similar agreement, and I don't know if it's there anymore.
I don't think it is actually.
Yeah. I was looking at it and I'm going, okay, did I miss it? Did you guys redo the website or something? And now they
The new
just,
media one?
pardon me?
The new media one?
I think new media screen, sagindy.org, new media.
Yeah.
And I swear to God, I looked and I go, well, I don't really see it. Now that was essential for really using SAG actors, some of who probably would like a break by getting some material so they get it for their reel. Sometimes you can get people that go, nobody asked me to play. Maybe they play the doctor, the lawyer, the this or that, and now they get to play this cop, and it shows their versatility in the scene, and that's what attracts them to it because performers want to perform. So I always thought it was very useful in that regard as well. So I'm not sure if they have it here, but it sounds like you took a look and that they don't do that.
I was talking about the new media contract with somebody last week, and I told them that I would try to find it for them, and I couldn't find the actual contract. The site still has all of the talk about it as though it still exists.
Yeah.
But,
Ultra, moderate, low budget agreements.
mm-hmm.
So this was something very, very important. Now, so I'm a little chagrined that they don't have that. I mean, that's another reason I saw one of your members say that shoot non-union, and I think that indeed you can get a lot of people that are seasoned thespians. And one thing we would do is whenever you go into a small town and need extras or day players, well, go to the local theater group. Sometimes you got people that have done theater for 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years. Mm-hmm. And they'll like to play the store owner or this or that, make some money and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a really worthwhile, it's a very good vetting process to some degree, if they're not overly theatrical, playing Sarah Bernhardt and all that. But the idea that they have, I don't even know if people know who Sarah Bernhardt is anymore, but not that I worked with her.
I fucking love you, Michael.
But for those that don't know, she was an actress who was very overly dramatic in her mannerisms and everything else. Mm-hmm. So, but that being said, I think that there's going to be some burgeoning that you and I discussed in the non-union world. I think that, and I'm saying that in the U.S., and already a significant number of members in the Screen Actors Guild are a financial core because they work on non-union commercials as well. So there's a reason for them to have that particular status. Yeah, go ahead. I can see you're going to ask there with baby birth.
Financial core for a lot of people. I try, when you and I talk, I try to pause and clarify some terms that we tend to throw around because some folks might not know them.
You just tell me to shut the hell up, and or say, what the hell do you mean by that? And I'll happy to do it, or let you do it.
I've told you to shut up since the first time we had wine for like 9 hours at Guido's. No, financial core, you'll probably hear it referred to a lot as FICOR, and it is an alternative to SAG. Michael is talking about how a lot of people go FICOR to work on non-union commercials, but and this is where I will default back to you because you can speak to this a lot more eloquently than I can. But there are ways to book FICOR actors for your independent films, and for super low to no budget indies, it is not a bad option. And the reason that we're going sort of this route with this conversation right now is because as the COVID rules and regulations move forward with SAG, it's going to be increasingly more difficult for a lot of folks with micro and no budgets to get qualified SAG actors, which makes it a little bit more difficult when you get further down the road towards sales and distribution. So therefore, we've decided to discuss the FICOR route just a little bit tonight and transition that into talking about the COVID rules and why FICOR might be a way for some of you folks to look at talent for your films. So that said, sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, no problem. And it's a federal law, so it applies to, I think, any union, whatever one wants. And I think you're only required to pay certain kinds of dues. And it's as simple as you can't run for office in the union if you choose it. I think that's one of the mandates. That being said, you are an odd member, non-member in some weird way, the exact labor status. But nobody could prohibit you legally from selecting that. So, and it's very as simple as sending a postcard to your union. Although I'd say, well, make sure that they actually get it in writing so that you have a record of it. That's my opinion, not rather than the postcard. But I think that what's interesting is a number of actors that I know people have encountered in the indie films. If you want to get an investor, remember pre-COVID, if somebody invested X amount of dollars for any theatrical, you had to get the P&A fund, they get paid, then the theatrical distributor, the theater owner, then box office bonuses, then deferrals, then SAG residuals maybe, then finally your equity player would get paid, the person who actually put up the money. So now it's more streaming, for free television or nothing, I think, more or less. Theatrical's not there. But that being said, is one of the obligations that's going to come into the math metric is going to be what do you have to pay SAG and with so many of their rules, etc. And one thing, for example, is first-class travel. You'll find this interesting. This is how far the unions go back. First-class travel, I think, in the Screen Actors Guild basic agreement is defined by the Pullman car.
Which is, by the way, my dream in life to have a Pullman car.
It would be pretty nice to have a Pullman car. You know, if you could go wherever you want to go and just kind of like be the wild, wild west guy, right? You know, you got your train where you go wherever you want, and it was pretty cool. But that's how they define first-class travel. And if you actually look at it, the unions would say if somebody wanted to work in Eastern Europe or Europe, they'd have to have first-class travel, which meant I would be paying more for the plane ticket than I would for them to work for a week or two. Mm-hmm. And so they couldn't reconcile those two by moving into a new era, let's say, of world film production, and which we find ourselves in a similar fashion with the COVID virus scenario. Now, how do you deal with a new scenario, new set of circumstances? So that's where I think the non-union component is going to come into play for shooting overseas and other circumstances, as well as indie films. I think that's going to be a rise in that.
I think a lot of people in the brigade and a lot of the low to no budget indies, shooting overseas is not an option at this point until they get to a point where they begin to start raising higher budgets, raising 250, 300, 500 grand, to go travel. Brandon Brooks is making some pretty interesting comments here. And I'm just going to pause very quickly because he said they raised the SAG actors rates a few months back for every contract. Yeah. Which I'm sure you know about this. Day rate went up to $201 a day for 10 hours and so on with the higher agreements.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's not under the new media contract. That's just under ultra low. That's ultra
low.
Low. Yeah. So
You know what's interesting is you brought up an excellent point, and there was a film called The Raid. Do you remember that?
I do remember The Raid. Actually, I love the concept.
Great show. It was in Malaysia or Indonesia. I think it was Malaysia, right?
It was Malaysia, or I thought maybe Thailand. I don't remember.
No, it was either. I think it was pretty sure it was Malaysia or Indonesia. And what's interesting is that the guys who had thought about that had originally, one of the guys was very good with Indonesia. One of the guys was really good martial arts, etc. And he was going to come to the U.S. and do a martial arts movie. And he realized how much things cost. And he goes, well, that's not good. I can't do it. I'll just be another ultra low budget film.
Mm-hmm.
And so instead, he decided to embark on the idea of shooting it there in Indonesia. And it made, I think the budget was $1.1 million, it says here, and they made, box office was 9.3. But then it also had at least, I think, 1, if not 2 sequels.
Yeah.
So I think the exotic atmosphere, to exotic in whatever way, contributed, but it doesn't cost you, anywhere. That art direction in the U.S. would have been a fortune,
Right.
And if you look at, have you seen a show? I think I told you about it, Delhi Crime.
You told me about it. I have not.
So that show was about a true crime issue, and I think this is important about the union conversation and indie people as well. Because if you raise $300,000-$400,000, whatever the numbers are, $500,000. My friend did Delhi Crime, and I did a film last summer as kind of an executive in charge of production, as it were, like the Bond rep overseeing the film. And they had extensive experience in India and South Korea and other parts of the world. And so they did the show Delhi Crime. And he said to me, we didn't have a tripod on the movie. We only had Kinoflows. And Kinoflows, for people that don't know, are small pack lights. They're of various lengths. They could be 2 feet, 4 feet, a foot, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But they could be battery operated or operated on AC. And obviously, you could put them under the dashboard of a car. You could put them, favorites always, on top of the visor at the top.
Mm-hmm.
So you get a little throw light there, wherever it is. I know you and I both use those extensively. And
I love me some Kinos, man.
yeah, they were a classic when they were made. And that's how they did that show, Delhi Crime. And when you think about it, the verve of the show kind of shot along that Bourne Identity handheld métier.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they did. It was very dynamic. And I thought it was really well done. So that's something that should be in the Indie Brigade Thinkers toolbox, is I go shoot in with a small crew. You've got the exotic atmosphere, and people aren't going to pester you for if you're not blowing up, the car in the middle of the public square in Costa Rica. You could, what I mean, something crazy big, but
Sure.
I think you have enormous options as a filmmaker to expand and make your money go farther.
So let me ask you this. What do you think is a reasonable minimum budget amount before a filmmaker should start to think about going overseas? And again, we're getting toward the COVID stuff because these rules and regulations are being lifted in other parts of the world, and things are the film production in other parts of the world, like Romania, for instance, where you talked about earlier with me today, are going to be a lot easier places to go and get into film production and get some stuff going quickly. What do you think is a minimum budget amount for somebody to realistically think about going and taking a film? Now, I'm not saying we'll say just any budget. What's a reasonable budget minimum amount for somebody to think about going overseas?
That's a good question. Well, I think a minimum budget amount, I think that is so intertwined with the concept of the film.
Agreed.
So if I say, hey, it's about Joe and Cameron and Michael, and we're going to go to Thailand and go to the beach. And all of a sudden, we have a mystery presented. Something's delivered to our hotel rooms accidentally. Mystery ensues. What are we really doing? How do we have to go? So we could do something like that if we had $10,000-$20,000 flying over there, 25, 30. Could we go hire a few people, like a guy who's the key of the mystery there that we want to solve, the package? Could you and I know you and I could absolutely do it.
Sure.
While Joe is drinking heavily, but we would definitely come up with something. But Joe would be inspiring us naturally, to keep writing creatively with his heavy drinking.
Requires only top shelf.
That's it. So
$5,000.
But we come up with some concept that would work for the money there with the exotic atmosphere of Thailand. I was actually going to shoot a film in France when I was there for a few weeks, and I had some work to do. But I knew I had 2 weeks. I probably had 10 days where I just could do whatever I want.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, okay, I wrote up a script. I had a camera. I had my iPhone. I was going to go and shoot a movie. And the biggest stumbling block, which I hadn't considered, which is the actors go, well, we need to get the script. I was going to do it in a month. They go, I need at least 6 months to memorize the script because English is not my first language. That was, I said, oh, you speak in English, but memorizing in English was different for them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I was going to shoot on an iPhone. And actually, because, so now that being said, I think there's various little break points. If you wanted to do it and actually hire a crew, a more formalized approach, I think you're probably in the $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 range. That means you could go there and probably go, oh, we're going to have a small office, a coordinator, some, get local gear, pay for insurance fully, etc. Probably somewhere in there with your travel, visas, work components, because you'll be working there. So you have to deal with that issue legally. So probably something like that. It does, again, depends on the scope of the film. But if you're able to say, in the math I was doing in Romania was essentially if it was $5 million, which is really what I'm aiming for, I could probably put $2.5 million above the line.
Sure.
And still, it's basically a one location film. So, and probably even more with some visual effects. So what kind of value do I get on the marketplace for that? And I think one thing important is when someone says we want to get $500,000 of film to make this film, people start to do the math in their head as a distributor or financier. How can I sell it? So what kind of talent could I get for $2.5 million or two, whatever the number is, with a contingency there of $500,000, let's say, to have enough value to sell on the marketplace? And in that case, I would try and get either Irish, British, French, and German actors, because those people would have value in those markets.
Mm-hmm.
So you have maybe a headlining British, Irish actor of sorts, then a couple supporting, then France, Italy, Spain, etc. It would work for the project. And then I have strong foreign sales, and ideally the English-speaking actors would be recognized in the Anglosphere, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, US, good, and UK, strong sales. And they'd have that kind of cross-Atlantic, trans-Pacific kind of value. And I still wouldn't have to use the Screen Actors Guild. I would technically be non-SAG.
Right.
So the SAG issues dealing with the coronavirus, I would deal with another union. Another set of guidelines, no doubt, but I don't think they're going to be as stringent.
No, not at all. Absolutely not. And, but the thing is, for a lot of films, like, I'm listening to you talk about going over, making a movie overseas and say, I'll say Romania. If you and I wanted to make a movie like, say, Hostel today.
Sure.
without an Eli Roth, without all of the things that made that movie cost the money. I mean, the concept and premise of Hostel alone, you, me, half the people out watching tonight who make low to no budget horror films could have made a film similar to that in Romania right now, today in 2020, for probably $100,000.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, am I crazy in thinking that?
No. I think if one were able to take some, careful planning, yes. I think you could, particularly if you wanted to go to Eastern Europe. Bulgaria is one place to go. When he goes farther there, I saw a guy put together a scene for his reel for $3,000. It was this rather spectacular little stunt near this bridge. Cars pull up, stunts, guys fall off a bridge. I mean, et cetera, et cetera. It was like $3,000. I was like, wow. About 8 minutes, 10 minutes, but it was fast paced, showed what you could do, and you go, that would have been $100,000 here.
Easy.
Yeah, easy. Yeah.
Some people, we got some comments I want to touch on real quick. Brandon says it should be me, Joe, and you, Island, and enter a kumite.
I agree. I could be the sumo guy.
You're the Brigade.
I could just see that happening and see us running down the street.
And then Ron and Terry are having a conversation about filming on iPhones, because you talked about filming on you were going to film on an iPhone. And Terry says an iPhone with an Osmo is a killer combo.
Yes.
Those Osmo cameras are amazing.
Yeah. And
you have one right there. Mine's back there.
Yeah.
Greco has one. Terry's got one. They're awesome little cameras, and they're like $300.
There's nothing, and I got the original one, and then I've got another one for what did I get here? I got this camera. I got you buy a number of cameras. The problem is you spend a lot of money on the camera, and then the next year it's completely obsolete. I mean, the turnover is more like a Bic pen, And I checked out these, and these are Sony cameras. And I think the model is the A6300. They got a 64 and a 65. Well, the good news about this is that because it's slightly not the top model, as it were, one removed the A6300 Sony, and you could put your own glass on here. And at the same time, it's, so, and then I have another one here. My son Johnny and I use these. Here we go. So between the two of them, you have basically cameras that perfectly match. I think this one was I think $400, $500, $500.
Yeah.
This the same except for the lens. Now you actually could do two cameras, set them up, hit one, hit the other, which is exactly what I did with my Into the Flames, the indie movie I made. Mm-hmm. So now I had what was the technique of master and cover. So you get a master shot and a cover. Mm-hmm. So at some point, I'm able to just edit seamlessly back and forth for a little more visual variety. And this cost, it's just so marginal what it was costing. So if I busted it or whatever, I wasn't going to, freak out about it. This is also kind of a good camera if you had to go overseas, that somebody would say, oh, it's just a tourist camera. It's not, full blown, like a Red, where it's pretty obvious what you're doing.
Right.
And it's phenomenal. And I'm stunned at the clarity of the image on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I am too. David Madison said he shot a film on the Sony A7.
There it is.
It's the same thing, I mean, the Canons are a little bit more of a recognizable camera body in terms of filmmakers using them, because they ran such a huge marketing campaign.
Oh, yeah.
I think Sony's done a phenomenal job with kind of disguising the movie camera in something that looks way more like a tourist camera.
And I bought a Sony NEX FS100, and I checked them all out. And the reason I bought that camera, it's a little boxy. And it's certainly not the most pleasing ergonomically, but it had a sensor that at the time when I shot the first movie, I did another one of these before called Conviction Murder in 4 Parts. And God, I think that movie cost, I don't know, $800. I mean, something like that. I mean, like, because all I did was I built a set in my garage. I wanted a camera with a sensor that could pick up imagery at night, so I could really push it as much as I could. And that way I had no lights, no problems, no setups, just set up the tripod, get the shot, move. And then I could get some good glass, and then I was good to go. And even the Osmo, which was not this one, but an earlier version, it's a little bigger. It's like about this tall. And that one I used, but it was the most expensive one. So every time I was outdoors at night using that, it was the memory of the witnesses recalling. So when it looked a little hazy, it was good because their memories were hazy.
Right.
So I was kind of using the coincident elements here of the script in relation to the technology, kind of matching them for style.
Right.
Worked out great. You know?
And it's interesting because I know that it may seem like we're going around the block to get next door a little bit with regard to the COVID. Last week we talked pretty heavily about COVID rules and regulations, and this week we're talking a little bit more all over the place about production and things like that, and everything we are talking about. As a matter of fact, though, if you're paying attention, you realize that we are sort of talking about how to circumvent a lot of the issues that large budget projects are going to run into with the COVID rules and regulations.
And now we should say, Joe, we're talking about COVID and indie filmmaking right now, so you could get out your little pencil and check. There we go. We got the thumbs up.
COVID like 8 times.
Well, we got to make sure Joe's awake in between, seeing him here. Maybe head down there on the desk a little bit. I don't know,
but it's true. I mean, everything that we are talking about ways to navigate and circumvent the current situation that people with larger budgets the problems they're going to run into with the larger budgets. Everything we're talking about is a way for you as indie filmmakers with low to no budget projects to kind of, we talked about this, Michael, and, I use the analogy of a needle. All of these rules and COVID, and there's this sort of needle's eye right now. And the indies, I think, are the only people, the low to no budget indie filmmakers are the only people who have the capability to sort of thread straight through that needle's eye.
I agree.
And not touch the sides or anything like that. And a lot of what we're talking about tonight are ways to do that.
Well, a friend of mine called me today, and he's a screenwriter, and he's got a short film he wants to make. And so he says, I saw your posts on the guidelines and wanted to pick your brain. And like one of the things is that if you wanted to use SAG actors, the first thing they're going to do is like Station 12. Station 12 is where you call up to make sure an actor is clear to work by the fact that they are paid up in their dues. So it's literally you will Station 12 an actor and get clearances. But going to Station 12, they'll also say before you can even make an offer to an actor, what is your COVID plan right now for the Screen Actors Guild? So if your plan, and the question I've got is another reason about non-union work, let's say, is that they may say, okay, so who is your health medical coordinator? And literally that's a new position that some form of that, the title could be fungible to some degree, but that person is going to coordinate all the activity on the set to make sure you adhere to those guidelines. In which case, my question is, well, what are the qualifications SAG is requiring for that position? So I don't know if you need somebody with a certification or an IATSE, which is a union, medic qualified. Is there some other thing before they even allow you to go, that's a good plan, you can now use our members? So that's that's one of the other issues. And if they say, well, they're not IATSE set medic certified, perhaps that's what they'll do. Now you'd actually have to sign up with the IA to use SAG actors too. I mean, so it's kind of a domino effect.
Yeah, and most of the time, a lot of those responses come from whether or not sadly, whether or not they deem you to have an attitude on the phone call.
Big time.
You know, like, I hate to say it, but it's, you know, it's true. Like if you're a dick, they'll make it for you, you know? So, but also you can't be too nice either, because you can't be a pushover.
No, I think there's, I think they're going to find, it's kind of like anything that's unknown. You cast a very wide abundance of caution net. And at a certain point, you find things that work and don't work, and you go, well, God, we're never going to make our day. What are we even doing here?
Right.
So I think that if I were to say, well, if you have an indie crew and you're going to shoot a movie, I think the first thing is that if people want to have their masks on, or they say, I'm the only one that touches the camera. Okay. I'm the only one that touches sound. I'm going to clean the labs every single time. We're going to, and I know somebody said, you know, what we do is now you can't put tape down, but what they actually did was kind of put, like, they said, I've got these like kind of wood pieces, as it were, and it just kind of 6 feet. Okay, great. So we'll be 6 feet out from here, and it kind of gave you these interesting, almost borders that were on the ground that you knew not to. You get in the habit of not stepping closer than that footage,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and it starts to build that habit. And so I think that was one thing that somebody was using.
Did you say you're not allowed to put tape down now because of COVID?
Oh no, you could definitely put tape and cones and everything down.
Okay.
But as soon as you put the tape down and you got to move the camera, you got to take the tape up. So
right.
Moving these kind of little markers, which could be small cones or something, that could be part of the plan. Make it easy. And also, as we discussed in an earlier podcast, it's not about shooting the scene. It's about listing the shots.
Yeah.
So, because I think if you're indie wise, you say, well, we're going to shoot this scene. Okay. Well, unless you are drilling down to the shots, you, like on the two $800 and $1,000 films I did, I made a list of the things that I wanted very carefully, where the cameras were. I really scouted, you know, probably most locations at least two to 5 times. And what I did was I made it on that first film I did. It was based on the walk I would take at night in my neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I take a walk, I was thinking of different shots and looking at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a huge advantage for me because I must have scouted that route 200 times.
Mm-hmm.
I think about the times I did it before I even conceived the movie.
Right.
But then you could drill down into like this shot, and this shot. And of course, the nice thing is when you have this kind of a camera, you go out and you take photos and you build an edit timeline. And you go, does that angle work? And you go, no, it doesn't. Okay, I'll use another shot.
Yeah.
But I think pre-building your shot list in that manner also tells you from a COVID point, I need you to go 50 feet that way. We're 50 feet apart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then over here. Now I'm going to set the camera here, turn it on, walk away. You walk into the spot. So I can get the shot of you saying this in the doorway, whatever it is. Can you actually use the benefit of a long lens? Somebody's having a conversation with his wife and things aren't going well in some way in that room. So you use a longer lens to show a little more compression and distance on that actor, a little more emotional distance.
Mm-hmm.
And you use the second camera that we have here, turn them both on, let the husband and wife have their little, because distance would work for that moment in a wide shot. Yeah. So I think you kind of craft it from the shot. In other words, how do I put this? Craft the style of the film in relation to some degree of the need, not all, but some degree of the needs of the COVID restrictions so that you're compliant in that manner.
Yes. Well,
that makes sense.
yeah, and I think that you have touched on exactly what we're going to spend most of next time talking about, because hopefully you're still planning on coming back next week.
Oh yeah,
We're going to focus the entire conversation on more crafting creative around these restrictions.
absolutely.
And actually next week, and I'm going to just drop this here real quick because Joe popped up. I actually have been working with Richard Grieco on a pretty secret project, and we're going to be premiering it next Friday, July 3rd.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited
Wow.
about it. And I got
Congratulations.
and I got to kind of, I guess, direct remotely. And Richard is one of he's got so many talents. It's not even funny. And this is something that I don't think anybody's going to see coming. So it's going to be a pretty big deal next Friday, and we're super excited about it. So
Excellent.
yeah, so he's
Great.
going to come on, and we're going to do all that. Hi, Joe. I love
Hey, Joe.
you.
I got a question that I'm curious about, and I've seen a lot of indie actors posting certificates, COVID certificates, and I was curious, do you guys know what's involved in that? Or if not, is that something we can touch on next week?
Yeah, we can touch on that. You mean like I'm like their test results? Like,
No, they're certified to go on set. They're showing their certificates. They're posting them online that they're certified.
interesting that they're like they've been tested and they're clean, or
I don't know if it means they're tested and they're clean or they've been educated. So that's what I was trying to figure out. There's been quite a few that have been posting their certifications.
interesting.
No, I'd be curious as to what that certification actually is, because one of the components that there was a Directors Guild of America meeting with 500 UPMs and ADs on this last week, and they said about extras. For example, before you bring on an extra, what you have to do is call them in, and this is another cost factor. You call them in. Let's say we're going to have 100 extras for tomorrow at the store scene. You got to call them in the day before and test them all the day before, which means I have to have, let's say, 4 technicians to test 25 apiece, staggered calls. So they got to start at 8 in the morning, finish by, I'm going to guess, at 12. Then you got to do is take those tests, 100 of them, get them to the lab. Let's say that's an hour and a half to 2 hours. Get all those tests back in 5 hours. That puts it about 7 p.m., 8. Then you get the results to notify people, sorry, you tested positive in a privacy scenario, HIPAA rules, and then be able to call in another extra. And then on top of that, according to this particular element, well, do you pay them for 4 hours like a fitting when you're fitting an extra? Would you pay them 4 hours for that? Then I got to pay the technicians. Then I got to pay for the tests. And then I'd repeat that 4 or 5 days later when I do another scene with 100 extras. So the fact that they're certifying early would strike me that it might be something medically, but not in terms of having coronavirus or not, because you get tested again anyway. You see what I mean? So I think it might have to do with like that they are knowledgeable about it, medically knowledgeable.
Yeah, I'm seeing a couple of comments. Matt saying it's safe
set certificate. There you go.
Yeah, I'm actually looking at it now. It's a course that you have to take.
Is that from the Screen Actors Guild?
Nope, it's just a third-party company.
Oh, it certainly is going to be helpful, but it's probably good to have that and be knowledgeable. It
seems to me like it's something that they're trying to get. Yeah, like I get this. This is one of those things that all of the comments are from working professionals, and they're like, who is this fucking guy? Why should I give my email address type thing? I think it's a phenomenal concept, and I think that it's somebody who's trying to prove the concept, at least this thing that I'm looking at.
Gotcha.
There may be other stuff, and this may be something that's getting proven. This may be something that the unions adopt and say, hey, we can do this. But
well, they do have safety certificates. So you have in the Directors Guild, and the other unions have a safety passport. So before you can actually work on the set, you have to have a safety compliance test. But then if you want to work on a condor, you have to get that certification. If you to wear the harness to be in the bucket, and height and wind and lightning within 30 miles, etc. So you'll get that certification. So it's probably similar to that.
Yeah, and Matt just put up the link, and that's exactly what I was looking at. And just even in the comments, a cursory Google search returns nothing other than direct links to this course. Can you give us some it's a new thing, and I understand that, and I think it's just, this may potentially be one of those gimmicks, but this could be one of those gimmicks that gets picked up by the unions and by larger productions, and they could decide to do this internally. So maybe this guy is trying to get this done first so that they can be the people to come in and certify this stuff for the unions. Who knows?
That seems logical.
I do know the benefit of the doubt, right? If you want to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Sure. It's probably a worthwhile thing to create awareness. I think the challenge is when I hire somebody for extras on a Friday and I test them on a Friday to play Monday, you actually can't put the scenes on a Monday because they're going to go out on the weekend.
Right.
And validate, maybe they might go out that weekend. If you're having a biker bar, I'm sure they're going to stay at home eating Twinkies and watching like episodes of The Bachelorette, and just because they work Monday, right? Are you kidding me?
Oh, I thought you were profiling bikers. We do.
There you go. Okay, I was on the mark, I guess. They're not going to go out at all, or some of them.
We're not going to mention George's chaps, but
yeah, we have Harley Bachelorette parties.
Because you're in touch with your feelings.
I just care about you.
But see, that just means you can't put the extras scenes on a Monday. You actually have to put them on a Wednesday, Thursday, time to bring them in to test them. I mean, that's part of at least that's what was discussed. So that's just one tiny department of one scene where I have a lot of questions.
I do too. And you know what? We're going to have to cut it there because we're coming.
Got it. All right.
But next week come back and we're gonna focus on how to tool and kind of work your creative and your IP development around the new rules of COVID.
That sounds great.
We do, Sean. We do grill cauliflower on the engines of our Harleys.
Right on the radiators, right?
Yep. So next week we'll talk about the creative, tooling the creative and all that stuff around kind of where everything's going, and talk about potentially some IP development beyond that could go beyond the need for physical production, at least for a while. So,
yeah, I've got some ideas on that.
Michael, thank you again as always, brother.
You got it, my friend.
So good to see you. I miss you terribly. I look forward to shaking your hand again and hugging your neck again one day, man.
Me too. That would be delightful.
Have a great night.
All right, guys. See you later.
Thank you, Michael.
Brigade.
See ya.
Mr. Michael Mandaville.
Didn't mean to throw you a curveball there. I wasn't sure. I kept seeing it posted.
I'm glad you brought that up because literally it looks very, very legit. And for Matt to bring this up, and that's a good point. It literally looks legit, but I mean, even comments on the guy's page are like, who the fuck are you? Like, what the fuck is this? There's no, what is Safe Sets TM International? Also, why should I give him, my email address, right? Like, you have to take into consideration and it's this big long course, and it looks like it's just designed. Who knows? So,
people are posting them as like a badge of honor right now. So that's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem. It seems like it really wants to be legit, and I have a feeling that it may be. It seems like it's teaching good things, but I think it's also one of those things where it's probably not recognized. It's going to be a while, I think, before the unions recognize those things, because they're going to be more interested in the rules and regulations that they can put forth, because those rules and regulations are going to then help perpetuate the union of it all. So, and
no matter what, education is not going to hurt anybody.
Exactly. So learn, wear your masks, wear your PPE when you go out, and just be smart, be safe, and be healthy, and be careful. And I think that was a pretty phenomenal episode. And next week is going to be it's going to be a pretty great episode too. We're going to continue the COVID series with Mr. Michael Mandaville, and we've got an amazing thing coming next week with Mr. Richard Pico. Yeah.
Yes. All right, I'm going to pop David up for a second just so he can announce his show, if I may.
Please.
Are you ready, Mr. Madison?
Hello.
David.
First of all, I'm like unbelievably jealous of Michael Mandaville because you never ever promised to hug me in the neck. I mean, is there something? Is my neck not attractive to you?
I would love to hug your neck, David.
Okay, because I feel really left out that you offer to hug him in the neck, but you offer me a swift kick in the pants.
Both are expressions of friendship and love.
Absolutely. Hi, Lance. Hi, Libby. Hi, Scott.
How
Jack
you been,
Hunter
David? Good week.
got a new truck.
Good week.
Phenomenal week. I'm super excited, George. I have a film coming out in less than 3 weeks, which is always super exciting. It'll be in theaters throughout several states, and they call it theater on demand now. It's not video on demand because it's like the King of Staten Island. It's being released theater on demand because people can't go out to the theaters now.
Would you just call that Todd?
I would like to. Yeah, we just created it. So catch Wits End on Todd. Yeah. And we're not talking about like the Todd who was on Different Strokes. What was that Todd's name?
That was
Bridges.
Bridges. Todd Bridges. Yeah. Oh no! I just heard somebody bring up Tiffany Shepis' name, so I regurgitated a little bit.
Yeah, Scott, you didn't say hi.
I said hello to Scott in the beginning.
Tiffany hasn't chimed in tonight. I think you may be safe.
Oh yeah.
There it is, near your throat or your hands. I'd let her near my chins. Yes, I said that plural.
You have more chins than Chinatown.
Oh man!
Wow, I used to like David. Damn,
it's a weird. It's just a bad Weird Al joke. It wasn't anything personal.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Big show tonight. We have Adventures in Babysitting star Keith Coogan from Toy Soldiers, and from, of course, I'm going to opine about the Waltons. He just has an amazing career. Mr. Keith Coogan will be joining us. And Alan, and I'm going to try this carefully, D. Escragnoli will be joining us. And Alan is the CEO and co-founder of Filmhub, which is an unbelievable resource for indie filmmakers. So if you're an indie filmmaker, make sure you come on and watch our interview with Alan, because information like this you won't find on any other show. I think this is the first interview Alan has ever done on anything. So
awesome.
Yeah, Lance, don't get excited. Wrong hub.
All right. Well, listen. Let's sign off here so Joe can go do his between show rituals.
Yes, the poor guy. So everybody is sitting at home. Poor Joe ate bad sushi. So I'm sure he's going to run and evacuate for the next 15 minutes. Hopefully he'll be back by 11 o'clock. If you're not back by 11 o'clock, Joe, we'll all just eagerly await with clothespins on our nose, knowing exactly what's going on. Great show tonight, George. Hopefully I'll see you on mine.
Yeah, absolutely, David. Anytime. Have a great show tonight. Thank you very much.
You,
all right.
So Dave thinks he's having a show tonight.
All right, are we ready?
Damn, you're pushy in your old age.
Yeah, well,
Yes.
All right. Everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. As always, thank you for being here with us through the whole thing. Stick around for David's show at the end of the night coming up here in just about 15 minutes. And Joe, thank you as always for everything. Nothing but love for you, even though we give you a hard time. It's actually out of pure love for you. So
I appreciate that, brother.
Fuck off till next time. To be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw. To be an indie means we buck a system that doesn't want us. To be a fringe filmmaker means we don't do it for them. We do it for ourselves. To be an outlaw on the fringe means we'll die before we fail. Be an outlaw.
Joe,
David,
you okay, my friend?
I'm great for you.
You're a little choppy.
Choppy?
Like, but now you're unchoppy.
Really?
You know what I like about
Oh.
you on this show, Joe? You get to let your hair down.
What's that?
You get
Yes.
to let your hair down, relax. You know, that's good stuff.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
And we all noticed that you got a great haircut.
Well, everybody, don't let Joe lie to you, because in the pre-show, when Joe, George, and I convene to AV check the guests, we do it every week about a half hour before each show. Joe and George made it a point to make fun of my haircut, and that goes to show you the kind of Sean. That goes to show you the kind of friends Joe and George are. He's lit. What does that mean? Like I'm drunk or something, Libby? What is he?
You're awfully bright. You're brighter than you usually are, I think.
I think my glasses are just reflecting. I usually don't wear these,
Okay.
but I'm getting old, and I realize that I'm not all that attractive to begin with. So what does it matter if I have glasses on?
Fair enough.
He's lit. I've been drinking. Ooh.
I've been drinking. I'm not lit yet. Not yet. There's still an hour.
So Joe, I have no idea if our guest is going to show up tonight, but if he doesn't, we'll have fun anyway. I know that that Alan will be here, and Alan is from Filmhub, and I assume Mr. Coogan will be here. Is there any chance that Mr. Coogan's in our green room yet? Okay. Crazy week, Joe. Got a film coming out called Wit's End. And for the first time, I am going about, oh, look at that, magic. I'm going about distributing it through a company that I created myself. All my other films were distributed through minor studios. Guys Lit means you're amazing. Oh, I like that. Thank you, Libby. You're making me blush. I dig the glass. Oh, okay. I'll go with the glasses. Does it make me look more like Clark Kent? Nobody will recognize me with these glasses on. I could go out and fight crime now. Yes, Wit's End. So yes, I am. There are so many things involved when you're releasing a film, like press releases, setting up interviews with like magazines and television stations, and having deliverables at the right places. And if I ever, Joe, ever again make a movie and say that I'm going to self-distribute it, you have my permission to take a shovel and hit me directly in the face with it.
Ladies and gentlemen, you heard this here right now. It is recorded.
Yes. And how's everybody at Haven for Heroes? Emmett, it's good to hear from you, brother. I hope to get to see you soon. Yes. So I have my hands full, but I'll be honest with you. I got some really good news. I got the first review back from a gentleman who reviews for the New York Times and for CNN. And this review, they're actually going to wait to release the night before the film's being released. And it's an extremely good review. So that's a good sign. Why'd you go so dark on me? Are you turning over like to the dark side?
I'm trying to adjust something for your guest that just showed up.
Oh, he did.
He did. Mr. Coogan is in the green room.
So without further ado, our first guest tonight, Mr. Keith Coogan, is literally a superstar. I mean, he was in Adventures in Babysitting, Toy Soldiers, of course, the great Waltons, so many titles, so little time. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Keith Coogan.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for having me on. Hello, everybody.
How are you, Mr. Coogan?
Am I in focus? Did I use the right thing? Okay. Hello.
You look fantastic.
Oh, thanks. Okay, appreciate it.
Everybody, this is Mr. Coogan. Keith, I'm David Lee Madison, the host, and the gentleman with the longer hair and the goatee is Mr. Joe Ridgely, our producer. I think he would be that way. In our weird little triangular Brady Bunch thing we have going on here.
Brady Bunch thing.
Yes. Uh-oh. We just got to pay $15,000 to Sherwood. Sherwood Schwartz. Don't mess with the music, man. Don't. That's the one you just can't. Don't. The whole music industry is ran by a whole different set of folks than the Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, we know. Trust me.
They're great folks.
You know what? I think a lot of people out there don't realize is that you are the grandson of the great Jackie Coogan. Am I correct?
Yes, I am. And I changed my name in about 86 is when I first started working under the Coogan. Prior to that, I had worked under Keith Mitchell.
Yes, which I know I'll get to in a minute because I'm embarrassed because all the everybody who watches this show, I opine every. I'm embarrassed. I'll tell you why. Because every night I where'd you go? Oh, he's back. Okay.
He was embarrassed for you. He left.
Embarrassed.
I'll tell you why I'm embarrassed. Because every night, like a mental patient, I lay in bed next to my wife, and I, for 5 hours every night, watch the Waltons.
Oh, great. So the 8th season must have come up recently.
Well played.
I had cats, chickens, dogs, horses. What other animals that I play around with in Walton's? Dang.
Well, back to your grandfather. Now, Jackie Coogan, as many may or may not know, was the great Uncle Fester.
Yes. In the original 60s TV series Addams Family.
And did you were you close with your grandfather?
Yes, he would do summers with us and passed away in '84. So I was about 14, and they retired to Palm Springs, where I was born in Palm Springs, and we're living in LA, Malibu, at the time, the poor part of Malibu, and but the summers were too hot in Palm Springs. You can't just run the AC 24/7, so they would come out and spend about 3 months with us every year out there in Malibu since probably, I don't know, 78, 79.
Sweet. Now, did he give you any advice as you were growing up as a young actor? Because you started off at a really, really young age. You were you to this day are an extremely talented actor. And did you get any feedback from Jackie as you were growing up as far as the profession was concerned?
Yes, watch your money and be careful of mothers.
Well,
show up on time, know your lines, don't bump into the furniture. That film is Chaplin told him, this is it. This is going to be in it. People will watch this years from now. So if you're going to do it now. That's what I like about film is it's because theater's great, but it can take like a whole run of a show, doing it for 6-8 weeks maybe, and then there's a few nights, a few audiences are like, oh man, that was the night, you should have been there Saturday night. So film allows you to catch that Saturday night, the second, third take or whatever. Sometimes it's the first take for a lot of people. Like me, I don't get any better take after take. Might as well just print the first one and move on.
Well, you know, as a director and as a filmmaker, the second and third takes are more for us than it is for you guys.
Thanks, William. I just saw your note. Say that again.
As a filmmaker and as a director, I will tell you that the third, fourth, and fifth takes are always for safety, because I'm sure we screwed up something behind the camera, like, forgot to turn it on or something.
Oh, sure. I really appreciate directors that film just the pieces they'll need. And you'll see that with someone like Kevin Smith, who would be their own editor. So if a director is going to have a hand in the editing room, they're going to pick off shots. They're like, I don't need that. I need this. I need this. And then, there it is. Fishes are done, man. That's great.
By the way, usually my co-host on this show, we call him Uncle Scott on this show, Scott Schiaffo from Clerks.
Yay!
He was he's not in the green room tonight, right, Joe? Yeah, Scott sadly sent me a text earlier this afternoon. He's feeling under the weather today, but wanted me to send you his very, very best.
Thanks, Bo. Thank you for that from Scott. Thanks, Scott. Hope you feel better, Scott.
Now back to the Waltons, because I'm a certifiable Waltons junkie. You played Jeffrey Burton, and this might be a strange question because I don't know if you ever actually got to work with him. I know you didn't get to work with Richard Thomas because he had left a lot earlier. But I always thought it was a very, very interesting choice that they recasted John Boy. Did you ever work with Robert Reitman?
I did. I did a few episodes. I just watched them maybe last week or two. They had one channel's on like first or second season, another channel's on like 8th and 9th season. So a few weeks ago, I caught one where John Boy had come back, and then another one after an episode or two after that I also watched. And he's John Boy, and what's funny is it's a different actor, so it's gonna have a different spirit. And a lot of people think, John Boy being the voice of the writer and really his, avatar for the series and his family and his real experiences, that Richard Thomas was it. Richard Thomas, superstar of that show, and really led it as the oldest male child of the Walton, group living. He was the one, they all had to live under the same house because of the Depression. That's kind of the premise of the show is 3 generations, one house, because they can't afford their own place. We could totally redo that right now. So the grandpa, who's grandpa?
Will Greer.
Will Greer had passed away right between the
I think 6 and 7.
Yeah, like it's somewhere in the 7th. And so by the time I'd started it, one of my first episodes was them going back to the grave and like saying some stuff around, which was shot at like Franklin Canyon Reservoir, and we were all in black. And I remember they mocked up at the back of Warner Brothers part of the hill to shoot some of the close-ups, and then also shot it out at the lake. So they passed on when they did the Christmas show that year. They gave me the part that Will had played, which was Father Christmas. So they all had like parts in the Christmas thing, and so I played his part, which was really at the end coming in. Oh, hey, Merry Christmas, everyone. But it was kind of interesting that they really went from the older generation. And Ellen Corby had suffered a stroke, but came back during our 8th season, I believe. Yeah, something like that. Or she might have already been back at work. As soon as she could talk, she's like, I want to go back to work. And it was great to have her on the set because that did tie it to Will Greer for me, at least. So everyone missed him, and they felt that they were missing him. And they missed Richard, but for different reasons, because he was gone for whatever reasons, but he hadn't died. So, he's missing in the war, etc. They get the new guy, and in TV, you don't have the job until your second paycheck clears. You could be fired from the pilot, rehired, fired again. They can switch stuff out of order. That happened with me on the Tales of the Apple Dumpling Gang, the Gunshy series. Very weird stuff. So you can, they'll recast like Love American Style did the first Happy Days, Love and Happy Days, and they recast a lot of the people for the Happy Days pilot. And then they also kind of retool it again once more once the series got picked up. So because of that, I didn't bat an eyelid. I think a lot of people in TV went, well, we want to still work and make episodes of the show. And if the people up top say, this is what we're dealing with, is here's Richard Thomas's replacement. He's literally replacing this beloved character, John Boy. Good night, John Boy. And everyone's supposed to swallow this. So it's interesting. There's some of the writing and stuff like that. He's like, I don't really feel like myself. He is shell-shocked. He's been changed. Now, because they cast a different actor, it has a different essence, and he's not as bold as, say, Richard Thomas's choices were. That could be an actor making that choice as a character. But because of that, an actor will make a different choice. And so you get a different John. But and his moles were natural and in the same place as Richard Thomas, which really free. People are like, they stuck a mole on this poor kid and made him play John Boy.
It's funny because I always...
It felt like the show was done, and it may have been done after the 7th season, and it still had ratings, and the Hillbilly Purge hadn't happened yet, or at least It and Little House, I think, were the only 2 shows to survive the Hillbilly Purge, where Green Acres and all that stuff went. So we knew it was kind of dying, and people were just kind of showing up to work. They're like, what kind of episode is this? Oh, because what Shakespeare could only write like 23 different plays, because that's it, storylines. After that, you're repeating yourself. So a series tends to do that by around the 2nd or 3rd season. You're like, all right, where's the storm episode? Where's the sitting around at night and the power's gone out, so they got to tell stories and rehash old episodes. Every show has this kind of cycle you watch and you go, they ran out of stories.
Yeah, it's funny because I remember watching the Waltons' first run. I was born in 1970, so I was young when I was probably around the same, right around your age.
Me too.
Yeah. And I was in my teen years, I think just because it was more accessible, I became much more of a Little House fan. But now, in retrospect, going back and watching the Waltons, because I'm locked on a mountain in the middle of Pennsylvania, and for some bizarre reason, as my wife snores next to me, I like to sit there and watch 5 hours of the Waltons. I realized that how many episodes had crossover actors, not like you were on Little House on the Prairie, the young blonde lady who was the daughter of the Gotseys was on Little House on the Prairie. Victor French was on Little House on the Prairie. I think you guys even shared some of the same directors. So it's kind of cool because even though the shows were supposed to be 60 years apart, I think Little House was supposed to be in the 1870s and the Waltons was the 1930s and 40s. It was cool in the similarities in the way the shows were similarly structured. Would you say that was a fair assessment?
Yes. Family shows, going through struggles, all kind of, and a lot of family values in both shows. Mm-hmm. Both with one singular voice, Michael Landon, I think, on Little House, guiding episodes, as well as, Stairway to Heaven After. Creators behind the Waltons that, it's funny, Waltons did a thing that Lost did, well, they'll have a stories of the week, an A and B and a C storyline, but then they'll have ones that'll arc throughout a season or throughout a couple of years. They'll be telling, and I don't know if Jeffrey and Serena Burton and Aunt Rose, I think they're real because Aunt Rose was in before we were. I think they'd established Peggy Ray as Aunt Rose before 8th season. I think you're right. And then they brought the kids in. So I don't know if that really happened, but we moved into the house. I got a room in the, the bedroom. John Boy's gone, so there was an empty bed in the boys' bedroom.
You had your character had a strange kind of cycle. He was kind of not very likable in the first few episodes that you're in the show, but then you become much more likable. Well, that's not you. That's the writing.
I had so much fun playing bad kids because I always played good kids. I had a sweet little face and a little, bowl haircut. Mm-hmm. And so most of the 90%, 80% of the time I would play pretty good kids. If they're a brat, they're immediately apologetic or whatever. Sometimes I play the bully like in All Summer in a Day, the Scholastic short story, Ray Bradbury one with the rain and the thing, and I locked the girl in the closet. That was a good bad guy. I think Starman, I played a bad guy in the TV show. And occasionally I would, but Walton's was a really devilish. And I remember I was working on it, and midway through I heard, and I was super professional, would never do anything to hurt. You never waste time. You never hurt any prop wardrobe. You never get anything wet. You know what I mean? You never waste time. So it goes on the production report. So I was always a good kid on the set, and off. So I heard a rumor. Someone heard a rumor that I had handcuffed a security guard to their cart, and I'm like, that wasn't me. I didn't do that. Maybe there was a guest, kid or a background artist or something from another show, but I didn't do that. I don't know why they're spreading rumors about me. It really upset me. So I was a really, really good kid. So I think by the end they mellowed Jeffrey out, and it was just through like repetitive reinforcement of those family values and love and trust, and like, wow, he mellowed out. He's like, fine, everyone's listening to him. So they cleaned him up, and I guess Dad stopped drinking because at one point at the beginning of the 9th season, they just go, "Yeah, he stopped drinking. We sent the kids back to him in Richmond." What? What do you mean? He's gonna beat those kids again. Oh, thanks, Nick.
You were great, except when you robbed Godsy's store. I mean, I think your character did, didn't you guys? You and another kid robbed the. Yeah.
I think I stole candy from there.
Maybe that's when you were accused of handcuffing the security guard. I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Maybe they wanted me to feel that panic of like, that's it. You know what? I wasn't really a method actor as a kid. I was like, I can fake it. Don't worry about it. And my mom always wanted me to do these exercises of like, pretend like you've fallen down a well and you're with your teddy bear and you're not going to be right. And the sun's going down and you're hungry and you're crying and go. And I'm kind of like, I just did school all day and auditions and I'm kind of hungry. When's dinner? And she's like, no, unless till you cry. And I believe it during this exercise. I'd have to do it. She's like, I didn't buy it. Do it again. I have to keep doing this exercise until I would cry. Oh my God, they'll never find me. And so I hated that. So I would always get a script and read through to see if I got anything gross on me, like Jello or wet or mud or whatever. I was like, I don't want that. Or if I was naked. Because I remember in a separate piece, the guy was like stripped and there's a shot of him running through the woods and he had this like little butt. It was like one of those scholastic things that they showed everybody in school. And I remember everybody giggled and I was like, I don't ever want to be the actor that they giggle at because his butt's on screen, So it's like, those are the two things. But I like playing bad kids. I mean, he smoked, he fought, he fought back and talked back to Ralph Waite, which talking back to John Walton was pretty amazing. I mean, I'm surprised he didn't beat him. And the reason I think is because he goes to beat him and he sees that he's got all these slash marks on his back.
It's on his back, yes.
Look at an hour and a half in makeup to do these. And then they faded them so that there was another episode where they weren't as bad. And then anytime later that year, because it took every year, it was like a year on the Waltons in real life. Then it took us about 8 months to shoot the season. Then they take about 4 months off. So the scars would get smaller, and so the makeup department was happy when they're like, we're done with the scars. We pretend that's months ago, and he's all healed.
You know what? I mean, I could sit here and talk to you about the Waltons until Tuesday, but I'm sure the fans of the Indie Brigade.
The house. So here's where the house originated from. Of course, it's supposed to be, his home house, whatever. Mm-hmm. So the Mayberry was shot over at the old RKO 40-acre backlot, and they shot the TV show Mayberry there. They started to shoot RKO, or they started to shoot Mayberry RFD there. And the farmhouse they used, and the farmhouse has been in a lot of stuff, was originally a single-story little like a little hitching post in old westerns, and you could spot it on these old sites on the RKO 40-acre backlot. Finally, they made it a 2-story. Then they adapted it to look like the to basically be the Mayberry RFD house. Well, they canceled or moved that show to Warner Brothers, and they took the closest house that kind of had the same structure as the house at the RKO 40-acre backlot in Culver, which was in dozens of like old westerns and stuff. It was probably in Gone with the Wind. They rebuilt it to look like the Mayberry RFD house. A year later, it was canceled. A year after that, it was used for the Waltons house. They just moved a couple of little things. So if you look at the house from the opening credits of Mayberry RFD, you'll go, oh yeah, that it does look like the Waltons. There's a little difference in the eaves because they had to adapt the one at Warner Brothers to look like that other house. And then it burnt down, and then they built it again. Then they used it for Dragonfly in Gilmore Girls. It's also Norm Macdonald's house in the middle. He's the brother on the middle.
Well, there's also a house.
It burnt down again. They moved it to the back ranch at Hollywood Way near Warner Brothers, about 1.5 miles from the Warner Brothers lot, where the Friends opening credits were shot. And then now they tore that down all together, and the Waltons house, after 5 different iterations, is now gone.
They have a recreation in West Virginia that fans can go and visit and stay at, which I'm sure is going to be in my immediate future once the virus is all done.
Awesome.
Are you a fan of the original 1985 Fright Night by any chance? The one with Marty McDowell and Chris Sarandon?
I saw it in theaters, and I have to admit, I thought that Lost Boys had maybe more comedy. I liked dark stuff, dark comedies like Into the Night or After Hours. But the horror I wasn't into until years later. I liked Friday the 13th or Halloween or even Freddy a little later.
The reason why I ask you is because the Fright Night house, Jerry Dandridge's house, was in the Waltons multiple times. It's the episode called The House that John Boy goes in with Jim Bob and says, "This place is haunted," and Jim Bob goes, "A vampire must live here," which is like the greatest.
Gotta be on the back lot of Warner Brothers.
Yes, it's also the house from Something Wicked This Way Comes. They keep every time they go.
Ooh.
Every time.
Matter of fact, Something Wicked This Way town was the town. Is the little Hazard from Dukes of Hazzard, and where Boatwright College was on the Waltons. Same Dukes of... Oh, by the way, where the Walton set was, there's a little dirt road, and right around the corner was Ike and Cora's store, and a little further through bushes, it would just go into kind of more in creeks and woods, and the Dukes of Hazzard would shoot dialogue and insert shots dragging around their cars and chases back there. So you'd be looking at a 1932 gas pump, at like 19 cents a gallon, and you're like, all these loaves of bread are 5 cents, and like these signs and the period and the costumes, and all of a sudden the General Lee in a police car comes ripping around the corner. It's great.
No, I mean, and again, I'm going to apologize to everybody. I should not talk to you about Waltons the entire episode. But thank you very much, because it's one of my favorite things.
No, totally. Appreciate it. They did one more year, and I have seen the cast. A while later, I went to one of the reunions, and I remember how they'd been running for 7 years, and who are these new kids coming on? Because Cammie Cotler was 18, I think. The youngest Walton, Elizabeth, was 18. So they needed fresh blood, right? So I was totally a 7 or a 6 or whatever you want to call those replacement kids that come on. And so they, tough to not come back for that next year, but fun to do a whole year. I think I did 18 episodes out of the 26 that year.
No, and you are.
The whole cast. To this day, I see the cast, and I just did the Quarantine Bunch with Judy Norton, and to this day, I am friends with as many of the kids in the cast, that are still around and still go to like autograph conventions and stuff like that. And when I see him, it's like, "Hey, what's up? Hey, what's up?" It's like we were on set, last week. So
has Robert Reitman disappeared, or is he still around?
Who?
Robert Reitman, fake John Boy.
Oh, I think he was at one of the conventions. That's
yeah,
right.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt. We had Oliver from the Quarantine Bunch on our show last week.
Oh, Scott Schwartz?
Oliver. Sorry.
Can you hear us, Keith?
I can.
Okay.
Cannot.
I don't know who Oliver is on the
from
Quarantine.
the Brady Bunch.
Yes, Oliver from the Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Oliver from Poltergeist.
Oliver from Poltergeist. Okay. Well, I think isn't Scotty Schwartz on the Quarantine Bunch too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe. Okay. Sorry, I may have got them confused. I do apologize. I thought they were.
No. Oliver Robbins.
Yes. Oliver Robbins.
I think he's a member of the secret child star support group for real.
Hey, sorry, we have so many people
on Facebook. There's a secret child star support group, ex-child star support group, and because remember, even if you grow up and still work, and you're still a former child star. So there's about 200 of us on there. And we'll talk like, hey, what's up? Who's got a name? What about it? Hey, how do you do taxes? I don't know. But there's all these great things we share with each other. How many houses did your mother take? I don't know. How many cars did your mom take? So yeah, it's very competitive, and there's two levels, because anyone who worked before 1972 in TV, they don't get residuals. There was a deal cut, and they're like, all right, from like 72 on. So I was very lucky with the Waltons. I still get residuals from that, even though it was shot in like 78. So there's the child stars, because my grandfather had lost his money and had to sue, and then created the Child Actor Bill, the Coogan Act, and it's supposed to save like 15% of a child's actor's earnings. The kids that got ripped off by their parents from before 1972, so like the original golden age of television, they don't get anything right now. And then there's the new wave of kids, like the Gary Coleman kind of era forward, that also lost millions. They at least, their parents might have stolen most of it, but they still get a trickle from SAG. That show is on iTunes and Apple and Plus and Disney Plus, and my dog has a subscription service, Sammy Plus. It's $1.99 a month. Subscribe.
I'm down.
It's nuts for like 3 hours.
I got to recover from that. So, Keith, if you could see this on your screen, if you could read and answer that, it would be appreciated.
I did not. I couldn't. So, huge crush on Elizabeth Shue. Asked her out, and she laughed in my face, and I used that for the whole movie. Christina Applegate was a dear friend, and I have huge respect for her going into working with her, and she just continued to blow me away. Love her. And Dead to Me is great. Why can't she have a brother on Dead to Me? All right, Annabeth Gish. Oh my God, Annabeth, what a sweet. Love Annabeth. Just saw her at an autograph convention like last year, or maybe even earlier this year. How long has this year been? Like 3 years? And
this one goes in dog years.
I did 2 movies with. I did Cousins, and then I did Forever, A Ghost of a Love Story. And she played Mary Pickford, or Mary Miles Minter. She played Mary Miles Minter, one of those silent film actresses. And I did How Did I Focus on the Set as a Young Man? Wow. So I was 16. I turned 17 on the set of Adventures of Babysitting with Lisa. If you're cool, if you could call Elizabeth Shue Lisa, that was kind of the thing. Hey Lisa, what's up? That was a big deal. So now you know. If you see her, you can go, hey Lisa. She's like, do I know you? And then Christina was just a workhorse, and it was you get to set and you go, all right, what are we doing? All right, scene 27B. All right, I'm gonna do a double T. You're gonna do this. I'm gonna do a gag 14F, and then you're gonna follow that. And so we would just like kind of set the rhythms and go, here's what we're gonna do. Bang it out. 1, 2 takes. Moving on. We didn't have a lot of time, and Stephen Herrick had shot Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, so we felt we were in good hands for his kind of like zooming the camera around and hitting a lot of other genres. We referenced Twilight Zone and Don't Tell Mom. In Adventures of Babysitting, we referenced the Brady Bunch. And Hiding Out was, my God, John Cryer was just on fire in the 80s. I think between 84 and 88, he made 114 movies. I'm not sure.
And 3 of them were good.
Dudes is a lot of movie, I have to tell you.
Adventures in Babysitting. How was it to work with Christopher Columbus?
Oh, great. He enthusiastic and fun. It totally had my back in casting too. Disney was not sure. They're like, isn't there someone else we could put in there? And he's like, this is my Brad. And totally had my back, and he went for it. And so thank you, Chris. And he's just collaborative and jump in. And if something felt fake, we'd fix it. And he always would say if something was over the top. So if we were just a little too exaggerated, he'd go, all right, it's over the top, bring it down, make it real. It can be big and have high stakes, but make it like real. And so we were having fun. And it was also, I said this in an interview once, and my wife was like, ooh, that's good. I was like, because we were really on in trucks and being towed and, in the cars and glasses breaking, and we're hanging from buildings and climbing fences and built and ladders, and so it felt like an adventure shooting the movie. as physical as it was, it pretty much was. That's a real L train. And we're just riding the loop in Chicago around over and over and over again. They set up 2 cameras on a lot of nights when there was a lot of action or something. And just shoot. And on the blues bar scene, they set up 3 cameras and shot for 2 days. They shot 13,000 feet of film in 2 days on the blues bar sequence. Most movies cut to like 11,000 feet of film. So
Wow.
lot of footage cut. And I think the take they used in the movie, it cut so seamlessly because they chose one take that really worked, and they had 3 different shots of it. A moving dolly shot in the back, something on sticks, and something closer on Lisa.
Now, when you were
And
making Adventures,
Albert Collins needed the most takes for the blues bar sequence in Adventures of Babysitting because he had never lip synced before in his career.
now when you were shooting Adventures in Babysitting, and after like reading the script, and as the filming was going along, did you know you were making something special, or was it just
Ooh,
it got a life
I
of its
mean,
own?
I did. Hold on one sec. Sorry, I had something in the freezer I did not want to explode. Did I know I was going to do something special? Yes, because it was Disney. It was Touchstone Pictures. And at that point, with Silver Screen Partners 3, they were having the most successful film finance company in history. And one of the people on the board of directors was George Bush Jr. Coincidence, maybe. You got a 600% return on your money if you invested in Stakeout, Ruthless People, Risky, all of these. Risky Business. What else was Touchstone? Beaches. Anytime you see that logo, and I used to play a game. You watch cable and you see that Touchstone logo comes up, and you wait, is it Good Morning Vietnam? Is it Adventures of Babysitting? And until you hear the Ronettes and the down, 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 and and then he kissed me, you're like, Babysitting, got it. I always like to play a game. I say, name that movie in 2 credits. So it'll be like executive produced by so-and-so something with a J and a Z in their name. You're like, I don't know who that is. And then another thing will come up. You're like, oh man, it's getting, wait, there's an established shot. Is that DC? And then you take a wild guess because maybe Gene Hackman's in it. I don't know.
Tell me a little bit of what it was like to do Toy Soul. Is that a Miller Genuine Draft you're drinking, my friend?
It is. Leftover from my 50th birthday party. And
when was that?
Does the FCC allow this? Am I okay?
Yeah, you're absolutely fine. When was your 50th?
January.
Oh, happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
I had the big
I got it right in before the lockdown happened.
My friend Kevin Smith and I were both born on August 2nd, 1970, 12 minutes apart.
Wow.
Apparently, I got all the looks. He got all the talent.
12 minutes. Sorry.
Apart. Yes. Yeah. And poor Brian O'Halloran stuck with both of us, the poor bastard. Tell us a little bit about what it's like to be, what it was like to work with. Yeah.
You mentioned Toy Soldiers.
Yes.
What a blast. Charlottesville, Virginia. Miller Academy, which is about 40 minutes north of Charlottesville by van ride. 3 months shoot. Dan Petrie Jr., who wrote Big Easy and Turner and Hooch and Beverly Hills Cop. He was directing his directorial debut. It was Chris Columbus's directorial debut on Adventures of Babysitting, and it was Bob Giraldi's directorial debut on Hiding Out. So I love first-time directors. So anyway, we get Dan Petrie Jr. out there with Luke Gossett Jr. It doesn't matter who's working, what's happening. You hire him, you get the same, whether it's Iron Eagle 3 or Officer and a Gentleman. Maybe he's a paycheck actor, but he doesn't give any less of a job depending on what it is. So he makes this thing sing. Mason Adams, R. Lee Ermey, bringing it that military gravitas. So that's a double connection to Full Metal Jacket, because we have Vincent D'Onofrio as Thor in Adventures of Babysitting, and R. Lee Ermey as the commander. Never mind. In Toy Soldiers. And then we had from T.E. Russell to George Perez, Will Wheaton, and Sean Astin, whose dad and my grandfather were Gomez and Uncle Fester, respectively. So I'd known Sean and his younger brother Mackenzie and his mother Anna, Patty Duke. And my grandfather loved Patty Duke when she was a child actress. So our family had just been, friends forever. And so it was weird to work with Sean. It was very cool. And I've worked with Will Wheaton 3 times now. Toy Soldiers, Python, and Tales from the Crypt.
It's funny you bring up Lou Gossett Jr. because I recall in the 80s and maybe even the early 90s, he was kind of like that generation Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, sure. But even, Iron Eagle had, even if it was using the same shots over and over and over again, sequel to sequel to sequel. Did you ever see Black Angel? God, that was a good movie.
I don't think so. No.
It was made around the same time, and it was a guy that got a hold of can kill the whole planet self-plane. And you think he's the protagonist, and he's not. He's the bad guy, and then everyone has to try to kill him. It was around time of the Iron Eagle movies. I loved Firefox and Blue Thunder. And vehicles were big in the 80s. You had Riptide with the pink helicopter.
Right.
Knight Rider. I don't know. It probably all stems from the Batmobile.
Mr. Ridgely, are you available? Mr. Ridgely, is Mr. Romero around?
Yes, he's got such cool romantic lighting.
Yeah, he's kind of like a modern day Prince, actually.
I'll take it.
But unlike you don't make doves cry, you make
shiny enough. Hold on. Okay, there we go.
Well, Mr. Coogan, it was an absolute honor to have you on the show tonight. I want to thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being on. I appreciate the time. Thank you guys for all the notes and love. And yeah, man, it was fun.
Where can people who find you on social media?
I am on KeithCooganOnline.com, and it'll lead you to the Twitter with Keith Coogan and the Instagram with Keith Coogan. And I'm full on Facebook, but I have a fan page over on Facebook. And yeah, that's the best way. I'm also on Cameo, so if you need to, wish somebody a happy birthday, anniversary, something like that, and additions are done, thrown in there. I do the cameos too. And yeah, so KeithCooganOnline.com.
Well, I would love to have you work with you on one of my films someday. I'm going to ask you 2 things before you go. First, as a certifiable Walton's nut, I'm going to ask you to work on Judy Norton to get her on my show. That's the first thing I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
That looks like it's not going to happen.
That's rough, but I mean, I just got to do it. I'm sure she'll do it. If I do it, she'll probably. If I recommend you, I don't know if she's going to do it because of that, but
or she's not going to do it because of that.
I don't know if I'm not lazy enough to actually do it, but we can make it happen. Okay.
And the second part is, I only got through half of your career tonight, so somewhere down the line, I would love to have you for a second time for Keith Coogan Night Part 2.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. I would love to be back. That sounds great.
Well, thank you again, Mr. Coogan. It was an honor and a pleasure to have you on my show. Be well, and everybody look for Keith on social media and all the films that he and all the projects that he has coming up. Thanks again, Mr. Coogan.
Great. Thanks for listening, watching, guys. Take care, guys. Good night, guys.
Good night. What an awesome guest.
Yeah, what a nice dude. What's that face?
Well, I thought we were going to look into each other's eyes and just kind of
opine.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love the Waltons. I didn't want him to go on. I could just speak to him about the Waltons for 12 hours. So I'm going to apologize to everybody that I utilized almost all his interview in a selfish way to talk about the Waltons. When
you
the guy
did.
I know.
We need him on again.
I know. That's why I only got up to Toy Soldiers. There's a whole bunch of stuff I would love to talk to him about. But I have another wonderful guest, and I don't want to miss out on speaking to Alan. Is George around by any chance?
He is not.
He's a slacker, just like George McFly. You ever think of that?
They're both busy men.
They're both Georges. They're both Georges. Yeah. My next guest is my next guest in the green room.
He is.
My next guest is the CEO and co-founder of one of the most popular services for independent filmmakers. I'm not even going to try to say his last name because I'm going to botch it up.
We rehearsed this.
How about you say it?
I'm not the host.
No, okay. That's how easy it is.
That's how easy it is.
He's
and I got Alan laughing his ass off right now in the green room.
My next guest is the CEO and co-founder of Filmhub. I was going to say StubHub. I'm glad I caught myself. Alan D. Escragnole. How was that?
Close enough. We'll count it as government work.
No, say it in French.
That's good.
It sucks because not only are you a young, good-looking kid, and I'm a 50-year-old man, so take it as a compliment. You got a cool French name. It's unfair.
Well, the funny thing is I'm French, but I'm actually more recently family's from Brazil, so I'm actually more Brazilian than French, Portuguese. So,
sweet.
Yeah,
it's even cooler.
Yes, and your Facebook page, it looks like you're like this international man of mystery. So as an old dad who lives on a mountaintop in Pennsylvania, I'm quite jealous of you. So, but keep doing what you're doing, pal.
So wait a minute, he's Dos Equis guy's son.
I can use Dos Equis right now. Instead, I've got a pina colada in hand.
The most interesting man in the world. So, did you watch any of my interview with Mr. Coogan?
I did. I got the tail end of it there, and I have to admit, I'm probably not going to be as fun and as cool as he is.
Oh, I'm sure you will be. Are you old enough to remember any of Mr. Coogan's work? Are you like an Adventures in Babysitting fan or Toy Soldiers?
I have seen them. Yes.
What were you saying, Joe? You were going to say?
I was going to say the Waltons. I mean...
no, I'm not going to bring up the Waltons because Alan is just going to laugh at me if I bring up the Waltons.
Well, so, I mean, I'm in my early to mid 40s and Waltons wasn't on my radar, but the other movies were.
Just like everybody else laughs at. Alan, you know what? Maybe you can relate. The COVID came in and we were all on lockdown, and I have a beautiful wife, but we've been married for 27 years. And I go up to bed and she passes out and the Waltons come on. And the Waltons starts at 11 o'clock at night and goes right through to 5 o'clock in the morning on the Hallmark Channel. And for some bizarre reason, like a mental patient, by Joe, by the way, like a mental patient, I sit there and I watch the Waltons for 5 hours every night.
How many advertisements did you have to go through there?
Is there any hope for me, Alan?
I think there's hope. Hope.
Okay. Joe doesn't think there's any hope.
I'm going to come back just for that one.
Just to pick on me. So, Alan, tell us a little bit about Filmhub. Our show is watched by literally thousands of independent filmmakers. Filmhub has an amazing reputation amongst filmmakers for helping them get their work out to platforms and to different medias. Tell us a little bit about Filmhub and how what made you decide to create such a wonderful company for independent filmmakers.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you. So, first off, we are an amazing company because of our filmmakers. That is really the core of our business, is the filmmakers that submit content to us on a daily basis. So the story actually goes back to my co-founder, Klaus. Klaus Badelt, who you may or may not know, is a world-renowned composer. He wrote music from everything from Pirates of the Caribbean through Gladiator, wrote the closing ceremonies to the Beijing Olympics, worked under Hans Zimmer. And Klaus is, he would say the story is he was blessed to, work with amazing people and constantly have distribution for his films. Well, saw a couple of people that he had worked with that came to him that had produced amazing cinematic films that were ultra high quality that couldn't find distribution. And these were films that wanted to be seen and needed a place to, be shown in the world. And the market was inaccessible. There's, as we all know in the industry, there's so many gatekeepers, so many people blocking, I don't think this is going to make it. It's the same thing as like a tech company in a venture world. Who knows what exactly is going to make it? You get things wrong all the time. And so, what we've done at Filmhub is we've kind of taken an open door policy in taking in films and using data and seeing which films begin performing and utilizing that to figure out, okay, this film, is one that we need to begin pushing, more and more through our algorithms and out to more channels. And it has allowed us to democratize the world of film distribution and really make it fair for everyone. And that's kind of, what our goal is for Filmhub is, to get rid of the gatekeepers in the industry and allow great content to perform regardless of what people think at first outset.
Mm-hmm. Give us a little idea of what you guys look for and if there are any submission parameters that they need to follow or what you guys look for in a film.
So we don't look for anything in terms of content quality, in terms of storyline. What we do have a very high bar on is technical quality, artwork, and making sure that the film looks professional. But as far as, looking for, does this have the ultra perfect storyline? We don't check for that. That's not something that we do. As traditional distributors, yes, we'll do that. But we're not a traditional distributor. We're a tech platform that's built technology to make the ingestion process easy, to allow us to deliver to streaming channels easy. And so because of that, we can take a very different approach than the old traditional distribution industry takes.
Mm-hmm. Now, does an independent film, from what I understand from what you're saying to me, is you take independent films and you put them out on a platform for distributors such as Amazon and iTunes and Google Play and Netflix. You present them the opportunity to get those films from you. Is that like a fair assessment?
Exactly. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's a two-sided marketplace. And, one being our content owners, which varies from everything from indie film distributors through indie film creators through major distributors actually that use our platform. And on the other side, obviously, are the streaming channel buyers that have a full kind of like, think about your Netflix type experience as you're going to watch your film at night. That's what we provide to our streaming channel buyers.
Sweet. Now, is it easier for you to market films that have like either known celebrities or known entities, or films that are made with specific fan bases in mind?
It depends. It really depends on what the streaming channel is looking for. We have streaming channels that are, heavily focused in Christian cinema and gospel. We have, ones that are focused on, the paranormal. And so, it really depends, and it's all about finding that right niche audience, and it varies channel to channel. And so what we do is we have algorithms that will tag the films as they're coming into our system and say, hey, this film would likely be an interesting fit based on the curation style of this channel or other films that have performed well on this channel. And that's how we pair the films using data rather than, pure human curation.
Now, an indie filmmaker who's watching this right now who has a project in the can, what would it cost them to put their film up on Filmhub for you guys to watch?
So that's the beauty of Filmhub. Because of the fact we use technology to make this process much easier, there's absolutely zero cost to list in our marketplace. We incur all the cost in terms of going through your listing reviews, making sure all of your assets are in good order. The only thing is really your 30 minutes to spend uploading the film and making sure all of your metadata is right, making sure you've got great artwork. That's all, that there's no cost to list on the platform. We're both equally incentivized with Filmhub. We work off of an 80-20 revenue split on anything royalties received. And so if your film doesn't get picked up, your rights on Filmhub are, we take non-exclusive rights. And so you can take it back whenever you want. You can distribute across any other channel. Our goal is that you maintain your rights and that you're able to distribute, to channels that want you.
Outstanding. Now, since Filmhub has been created, have independent filmmakers seen any? And I don't mean to be rude, because I have to look out for the film. Has filmmakers seen any money coming from Filmhub?
Totally. I mean, we have filmmakers that make a complete living off of Filmhub. We have filmmakers that do that. We have, obviously, as you know, especially with our indie clients, right? The key is having a portfolio of films that begin performing well. We have indie creators that use us solely as their sole distribution method. We have indie creators that use us partially with distributor services that they've gone with. It totally depends, and the key is that we're flexible, and we want to make sure that you as an indie creator maintain your rights. If you ever want to pull your film down from Filmhub, that's no problem. There should never be, in this industry, you should never be stuck because of a contract. It should only, and this is true in most things in life, you should always want to be where you are because you want to be there. And if we aren't doing our job, or you believe that and you want to part ways, that's fine. You want to make sure that, you don't feel this traditional, oh, I'm in a 5 to 7 year contract. I don't think they're reaching all the right streaming services. That doesn't make sense to me.
No, absolutely. Sadly, all my films that I have released in the past did extraordinarily well. They all sold over 35,000 units, which for small indie films is significantly well. Yeah. But sadly, when you deal with distributors, you don't always see what you deserve in return. So on my next film, which I'm releasing this summer, I'm going the way of self-distributing. So I'm going to have talks with you off the air at some point, if you're okay with that. I have a question from Mr. Lepre, who's one of our watchers, is how often does filmmakers get paid from Filmhub?
Awesome. First off, hi, Lauren. Lauren has a film with us called The Dark Military. So great to have you. Filmmakers get paid on a quarterly basis. So we pay at the end of every quarter. So we are actually, June 30th actually is our quarterly payout coming up next week. And that will be for all earnings that we received in Q1. So we go through audit across all of our channels, make sure all of the reporting is correct. We have to go back and forth with our channels a lot because there'll be something we notice is off. And so it takes us about a quarter to make sure all that's right. And that's a service that we provide, included in our 20% fee. And so we pay on a quarterly basis.
Sweet. All right. I just want to thank you. Our show goes from 11 to 12. I'm sorry that we can't have you on longer, but you are a wonderful guest. Anybody who wishes to reach out to Filmhub can find you guys just by Googling Filmhub. I want to say to you specifically, Alan, the reason I reached out to you is because I went to a lot of filmmakers, with this being the very first film that I'm self-distributing, and everybody has said nothing but wonderful things about your company and about you in particular. So I wanted to make sure that the filmmaking community knew about Filmhub and the wonderful services that they're providing for filmmakers out there to get their work seen on platforms. So as a filmmaker and from the filmmaking community, we thank you for what you do.
Awesome. Thanks, David. No, and thank you to you guys for having me. And also just thank you to all the filmmakers that are out here. Check us out and look forward to working with you.
Yep. All right. Thank you very much, Alan. And I'll catch up with you on the other side.
Have a good one.
Be well.
Thank you. You too. Bye. Wow.
Well, I mean,
very cool.
I mean, that service to indie filmmakers is really just invaluable. And when you bring somebody on who's the face of a company and you can see and get an idea of what kind of human being they are, you feel much more comfortable with giving them a project or working with them. And I've heard so many wonderful things about Filmhub and Indie Right. Those are the two, Michael Madison's company, the gentleman who was on our show last week. I've heard nothing but unbelievably good things about those two companies as far as independent film distribution. And I know we have so many people out there who have a passion for independent film and who are definitely trying to get their stuff out to mass audiences. So I wanted to make sure that Alan came on and told everybody about Filmhub.
I agree. That was great.
And it's really just as simple as if you have a film to submit, to look up Google Filmhub, and all the information's there on deliverables, what they expect from you. And he said they don't turn down any film. So if you have a film that you think has a market, and they will put it up on their platform and present it to every company that you want to be on. So, I mean, there's really nothing else as an indie filmmaker that you can ask for a company to do. And an 80-20 split with a company that does that many things for making your title available, everything is are really just amazing. So that's that.
Okay. And I agree 100%. It's amazing. It really is.
Yep. And Joe is and George is MIA,
MIA. He's a busy guy. He's stuck on the phone.
He's on the phone with the Queen of England. I hear.
Very well may be.
Very well may be.
I have no idea.
So I will wrap this up for this evening. I want to thank everybody for watching tonight. You don't have to put it on the one shot. We'll go out together. Oh, you did it anyway. I want to thank everybody who was watching. There you go. You're back. Oh, you're gone again. I want to thank everybody who was watching tonight. It was a wonderful show. I want to thank Alan from Filmhub. I want to thank Keith Coogan from all the wonderful movies in his amazing career. Super excited about everything that's happening. I have Wits End coming out sometime in the very near future on the Theater on Demand. There you go. So please, everyone out there, as an indie filmmaker, it's very, very difficult to get the word out to the masses. So anyway, thank you, Brandon. Anybody who can support Wits End just by sharing its page or liking its page or doing that would be wonderful, and I really appreciate it. With that being said, remember, no man is a failure. You go to the 2-shot when I'm going to my line. Remember, no.
Go ahead.
I think we have to have Tiffany Shepis run the board. I think she actually likes me better than you do.
You're the one who brought up my sushi incident. Go ahead.
Remember, no man. Wait. Let me take my glasses off. Remember, no man is a failure who has friends. Everybody be well, be safe, and we'll see you next Friday.